York's only local show is back on its new home on York's only local station.
Guess who's back again.
This is the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK.
I'm back.
Now, broadcasting live from WOYK's downtown York studios inside Wellspan Park, here's Gary Sutton.
And a very misty Thursday morning to you. I am Gary Sutton, and welcome to the Gary Sutton Show here on WOYK. We're at 6:05. 62 balmy degrees outside, where it's a little foggy, a little misty, but always happy and buoyant, sunshiny, balloons and butterflies inside here.
Shut up.
I was trying to paint a nice day here amidst all the gloom. Mark McKenzie, Mr. Find a Dark Cloud in Every Silver Lining, with you this morning here on the Gary Sutton Show. How are you today? Or should I ask? Sound a little grumpy this morning.
Yeah, a little.
The baseball rolling into your lawn, you're keeping it today? Is that what's happening?
You know, it actually all started, if truth be known,
Go ahead.
It all started with baseball clips.
Really?
Yes.
And
Daryl sent me some baseball clips.
Speaking of dark and gloomy days yesterday, losing a doubleheader, the Revs, not good.
Yes. So
not good.
Maybe that was a portend of things to come.
So it kind of set your day off on the wrong foot, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it created a technical difficulties here for some unknown reason, and but we're.
Are we on the right track now?
We are.
By the way, our show today brought to you as our presenting sponsor, Barley Snyder, attorneys at law. Barley Snyder is a strategically focused law firm representing businesses and organizations and individuals in all major areas of civil law, with offices throughout Pennsylvania, including right here in New York at 100 East Market Street. You can call them during the day, by the way, at 9 to 5 every Monday to Friday at 846-8888. Barley Snyder is ready to help you. 130 different attorneys around central Pennsylvania, and they are in a lot of different areas. We'll talk about that throughout the show. But, we're having a great time today. Mark had a few extra things to do this morning. But you know what? That makes your day. Think it would be a mundane and boring otherwise. You'd have to just go through and do your job.
Yeah.
There'd be no extra things. I mean, just think about it. Every day is just, it's a new day.
It's an adventure.
And it's the first day of the rest of your life, Mark. You got to think about that. You got to feel good about that.
It's just an adventure.
Adventure. That's exactly right. Another foray. Indiana Jones, the whole kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Anyway, our question of the day today, should President Trump be able to accept a new Air Force One plane from Qatar or not? Your thoughts on that? A lot of debate about that right now around the country, around the world. I get the impression most people say no, you shouldn't be able to. And one of the things it says about the emoluments clause is that you don't receive any kind of gifts unless Congress says it's okay. Okay, now they're dancing around this right now and all that. I don't think you should.
We're giving it to the military.
They're giving it to the military, who
will then
runs
give it
the whole thing.
My
whatever. Yeah.
My library.
Yeah. I'm going to give it to my local Blue Cross. Anyway, text the show today at 833-478-4729. You can answer the question there as well, and we're more than happy to respond to those throughout the morning. Let's see what else we have going on here. I had lunch at Yanni's yesterday for 3 hours.
What?
I sat down with two friends.
You ate lunch for 3 hours?
3 hours. I didn't really eat for 3 hours. I talked for 2 hours and 50 minutes. But I had the chicken souvlaki and a small salad yesterday, which was fantastic, by the way. But I was taking my friend Gary Tolton over there yesterday. He had never been there, and he liked it. He eats very fresh and very healthily.
What did he order?
He got the same kind of, he bought pork. He got pork on a stick with a small salad. And then,
you mean a corn dog?
Yeah. And then my friend Mark was over there, came in and had lunch with us. And Dirk Black was there yesterday, who's a friend from our club. And I just love his name. I love to say it. Dirk Black. Sounds like a pirate.
Clive Cussler.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't quite do the same thing. But
No, I mean the author.
Yeah, Dirk Black. It does sound like an author, doesn't it? Or a pirate.
No, Clive Cussler's.
How do we get on How do we get on Clive Cussler?
Well, he's the one who had the series of. It was Dirk. What the heck was his name?
This guy's name is Dirk Black, and it's very.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, I just You took me too quickly to Clive Cussler. I was not ready for that. He also wrote, by the way, Raise the Titanic.
Yes.
Clive Cussler. Am I correct on that? See that?
Yeah, it's the same.
You're not dealing with another pretty face here. I mean, it's just...
It's the, he wrote a bunch of adventure novels. Yeah. He probably still does.
There it is, if we know Clive.
If he's alive.
Clive Cussler does not sound like Dirk Black. Anyway, let's see. Chris Markowski is going to be with us today. Can't wait to see what he has to say about the economy. We have to get him on some Darvon each week and get him down a little bit. Let's see what else. We have today... I have to look ahead here a little bit because my script is about 25 pages long. Dennis Owens.
I noticed that.
Dennis Owens is going to be here this morning. He's going to be talking. Julie Wheeler, we're getting her up early this morning because she dodged us the other day. She had to go to some meeting or something, and so she's going to be with us this morning at 7:05. And then we have Dennis Owens from ABC 27 News to talk about, all the things going on. President over in the Middle East right now getting wined and dined and by a lot of these guys running around wearing turbans. So we'll see how that all goes. Let's see what else we have today. At 8:05, we've got Joel Sears this morning. Joel Sears stopping by. And then we've got Andrea Ryan on what's going on around York from Explore York. And then at 8:35, Phil Kerpen, president of American Commitment, will join us to talk about the big, beautiful bill and what the heck that's all about, okay, and where it's all going. And a whole lot of things in between. So we have all of that today right here on the Gary Sutton Show. I'm not sure. We ought to have pay per listen today. Seriously, it's going to be that good. Don't you think? Pay per listen today. Yes.
I don't know. I would reserve judgment.
So here's okay. Well, we'll prove ourselves.
There you go.
Here you go. What's something, and we'll start the day out today with this question. What's something you tried once and knew it wasn't for you? Something you tried once and you knew it wasn't for you. Radio? No. People are saying you never got the message, did you? No, it's funny. And what have we done now? Close to 6,500 something shows? I don't even want to know anymore. Well, there's a famous quote that says the hallmark of successful people is that they're always stretching themselves to learn new things, like how to operate the board here in the morning with new things coming up at you all the time, saying things like that.
Yeah, like that.
But my question is, do you have to keep doing those things? Someone on social media asked, what's something you tried once and immediately knew it wasn't for you? And here are the most popular answers. Now, you'll get a kick out of this, Mark. Number one, gambling. Went to the casino with friends for a weekend, lost several $100s in about an hour and a half, and never placed a bet again. That's kind of me. I don't gamble. I don't like gambling because I'm not good at it. And I know I'm going to lose eventually if I stay long enough. So I didn't. To me, if I lose $50, that's like, oh my gosh. Now in your case,
really?
If you lose $1, it would be like, but no.
No. I have gambled.
But now I get the impression you're a little bit better at it because you study stuff before you get into it.
My wife was very, very, Kelly was very lucky. She just had this, ability. Yeah. And then I discovered after a while, it's like, you know what? I'm just going to let her gamble. I mean, I'm not very good at it. I only had a couple of gambling stories where, you remember back when they had when the Atlantic City casinos first opened.
Oh, yeah.
And people would take buses. Do they still do that?
And they give you like $15.
They don't do that anymore, right?
And the old people will be sitting out on their chair for the rest of the day after they lost it in 5 minutes. But yeah.
So we were there, and they're saying, come on, the bus is about ready to leave.
Right.
And I had exactly what I came with.
There you go.
So I was expecting.
Did you hit the buffet while you were there?
No. Okay. What I did was on the way out. So we're walking down, and the place is packed.
Oh, yeah.
Packed. And I had been playing blackjack. So I had, what they did was they gave me a black chip. That's a $100 chip. So, and, I'm playing $5, $10. I'm not playing, Anyway, so we're walking down, and I'm telling Kel, it's like, you know what? I came here to lose this. And, I would,
by God, I'm going to do it.
Well, here's the thing. Somebody got up from a table that we were walking towards.
Yeah.
So the tables are packed.
Little kismet here.
Yes. So I'm like, not thinking that guy probably just lost his last dollar
exactly
there.
Right. And you're about to be the next
exactly.
victim. Yeah.
So I put my black chip down. for to play
Black chip.
to
Dirt
play.
black and the black chip.
Yes. Well, I'm telling you, every face on that table turned to me. I was like,
black
"What? It's
chip.
not that big of a deal, is it?"
Yeah.
And I drew blackjack.
Did you really?
I did.
And how much did you win on that?
$150.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So
I look at you in an entirely different light now.
Yeah, right.
In that last 10 seconds, I've looked at you in an entirely different light.
It rarely happens. Anyway, today is Thursday.
By the way, a couple other things. Here.
Oh.
A couple other things.
Okay.
Yeah. That you might have tried and knew it wasn't for you.
I'm sorry.
We
Yes.
said gambling was number one.
Yes.
Running. If you ever
Yes.
see me running, then you should too.
Yes.
Okay. Being a morning person. I can wake up early if I have to, but I'll never be happy about it. But
I'm a morning person.
I'm a morning person as well, but I'm also a night person. That's the worst part.
no.
But I'm getting to bed earlier and earlier. Scuba diving. Didn't make it past the training in the pool. That was me. I did it one time in the pool.
Yeah, I did it one time
It was
as well.
pretty cool.
Yep.
My friend Jim did that.
Breathing underwater doesn't seem natural.
Here's one. Hot yoga.
Wait a second,
Never
what?
tried that. Hot yoga. Have you
Hot
ever tried
yoga?
hot yoga? Yeah.
Wait. That's where they do the temperature. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and people
I
pass gas and
misunderstood.
stuff. It's not good. Virtual reality made me dizzy and gave me a splitting headache.
I would like to keep trying it though.
I don't know. Let's see. Going to a strip club. You ever go to a strip club?
I went once, as a matter of fact.
We back in my younger days, we went to this club. Didn't know it was a strip club, but went into it. Yeah, that's my excuse. But my friend and I were sitting there and fell,
It was a bachelor
and
party.
they fell
I knew.
asleep. And the girl walked down and slapped him. He fell
No
asleep.
kidding.
Yeah, it was bad. Let's see. Dating someone with opposing political beliefs. Nothing wrong with the person. It's just
Oh, sure.
unnecessary conflict when you're ideologically incompatible. So
Well, you don't have to talk politics.
no, you don't. But
Unless you should.
Unless you should, yeah. Oh, geez. How about skiing? I've never done that.
I did it once.
Did you?
I don't know. It's sort of like skating.
Okay. Hot tubs. Feels like a gigantic soup pot for humans. I don't
does.
know. Yeah. Drinking a Bloody Mary.
Yeah, heartburn.
It tastes like a spicy, disgusting fluid lasagna. That's what I just was.
Fluid lasagna.
I don't know.
Fluid salsa is like.
Well, yeah.
churned up
I mean,
salsa.
that's it. So the other ones I'm not going to mention because
Right, thank you.
you can't. Anyway, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We got a lot more coming your way this morning of the serious nature as well. The president being wined and dined in the Middle East. A lot of people are commenting on that. The big, beautiful bill, we'll get in on that today. A lot of things happening all around you, and we'll talk about it here on the Gary Sutton Show, the main street of America in York County. And it's all right here on WOYK. is coming back, isn't it?
It is 1990 bumper music today. I'm your baby tonight.
From the moment I saw you, I went out of my mind. Oh, I never believed
She was the complete package.
She really was. She was very, very good.
And Kevin Costner as my bodyguard.
Yeah, you and Kevin Costner, you're like brothers. Sure you are. Anyway, welcome back to Gary Sutton Show here on a Thursday morning. It is the Main Street of America in York County. And a work group for the Pennsylvania State University has recommended closing the York campus, citing a decline in enrollment, high operating costs, and the availability of post-secondary institutions in the region. It is one of 7 campuses now, we mentioned this yesterday, that have been recommended for closure across the state. The others are in Du Bois, Fayette, Mount Alto, New Kensington, Shenango, and Wilkes-Barre. And York is now one of the 7. It had been on the list of 12, was pared down to 7, and that's where they sit right now. And the Penn State Board of Trustees is expected to meet in an executive session on Thursday, today, May 15th, to further discuss the recommendation. According to a news release, the university will notify the public when the board plans to take action on it. Kevin Schreiber, the president and CEO of the York County Economic Alliance, called the recommended closure of the Penn State York campus unfortunate. For decades, Penn State York has contributed greatly to our community, said Kevin, our education, our community, and our culture, and to our economy, adding that the community has returned the favor and supported the campus during that time. In the rationale for closing the York campus, the report cites a 40% drop in enrollment over the past 10 years, Mark, and states it's a trend that continues to erode its financial viability and ability to offer a comprehensive student experience. So 40% decline in enrollment, big number, over the past 10 years. Penn State Harrisburg, located 17 miles away from the York campus, offers robust academic options, expanded student services, and greater scalability, as well as residential housing, the report states. It is better positioned to serve the region in the future, and students from York could continue their education there. Penn State World Campus also offers online courses, if you've ever seen that. In addition to Penn State Harrisburg, the report lists nearly 25 other higher education institutions that exist within 50 miles of the York campus. York College of Pennsylvania, the most notable, is only 1 mile away. Penn State York is a commuter college, has seen per student operating costs increase as enrollment has declined. And the report states the campus has become increasingly dependent on central resources to remain operational. It lists a negative balance of $387,453 in the fiscal year 2024, a negative balance. So if I were a betting man right now, Mark, I would guess that they're probably going to be closed. But
does it say, though, what they are doing? Like, where are these kids going?
Well, they said the kids are. Yeah, no, it does not say where they have kind of siphoned off to, I think is what you're asking.
Yeah,
and I would suspect, we got a lot of people doing online and all that kind of thing. We got a lot of colleges in the area. So they're saying Penn State Harrisburg, Penn State proper campus, York College, Millersville.
Just other.
You've got all the ones in the region there where people are heading out. And then I think the other thing you're seeing too on the higher education level is going out to places like York Technical Institute and different places like that are higher education where you go 2 years, you get a degree, and then you're off and running. I have 2 nephews who went to like York Technical Institute, and they're already making money in the electrical business. So, I think that there's just so many other ways of doing it now. And a lot of people, instead of incurring all that college cost and all the loans and all those kind of things they have to pay back, they're finding other ways to get it done. So it's a shame because, and then I was talking to a friend yesterday about this in my 3-hour lunch at Yanni's about the, what would they do? You're going to have all that infrastructure. I mean, you got like the Polo Center sitting up there. That's part of it. You've got buildings up there. You've got gymnasium. What are you going to do with that? Wouldn't that be interesting to have someone buy that and make it a for-profit kind of institution that they could start maybe for, I don't know, job training, something along that line. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if it does close, what comes out of that, because there's a lot of buildings up there to be looked at. So just a thought on that.
I don't know.
You don't know?
It seems kind of
beyond my pay grade normally, but
yeah. I mean, I remember going to college and trying to decide what to do, and
And you chose this?
No, actually.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in the end, I guess, yes, that's true. But
sitting here with me every day.
I went to school for.
Now that you think about it, it's not that great an idea, is it?
Well, we had some of the fears that you have now for artificial intelligence, for example.
Right.
All right.
Which you also have in this room.
People are thinking about, how is this going to wipe out jobs?
Right.
How do I fit into that where a machine is going to be able to do so many different things? And then they're working on robots. You talked about that this week as well.
Which you also have in this room, yeah.
Right. But back in our day, we had a similar kind of challenge, and it was from computers.
Right.
Computers are going to be able to take a lot of these jobs, and who's going to be able to do what? And I thought, you know what? Maybe accounting.
Yeah.
Because there's still some interpretive analysis that needs to be done. So that's what I did.
The fact that you could say interpretive analysis is grounds for being an accountant anyway.
Exactly. I could definitely pull it off until I couldn't. I went to college. I was a B student. I was a pretty good.
Sure.
I was okay student, and I took accounting, and so I didn't really know anything about it. So I went to my first class. And Mr. Filippelli told me that, look, I give 3 tests. You're in the adult world now. I give 3 tests.
Yeah.
And if you pass them, you move on. But you've already paid for this class.
Right.
I'm already scheduled to get my money. So, it's up to you what you make out of it. Now, I never had a public school teacher talk to me like that.
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, well, okay, I can make my own decisions.
Sure.
So after the second test, I had a 44 average.
Really knocking it out of the park, huh?
I really can't explain why I went from a decent student to one that.
Was the word party involved?
I don't know. I really have no vivid memories of why. I do have a vivid memory of going to see Mr. Filippelli.
And begging upon his,
I did not beg.
No.
I just
grovel. Was groveling involved?
No, I just wanted more information.
Okay.
And he gave it to me. He said, boy, you're in a pickle. He said,
Sure.
You really need to get. Let me see. You need to get an
56% higher. Yeah.
An 88 to get a D.
Wow.
He says you have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
So at least I knew where I stood.
You got the 88?
Yeah, I got 86.
86.
And he gave me the 2 points.
Wow.
And he gave me the D, I should say. He didn't give me the 2 points. He gave me the D. And then I quickly.
You weren't like magna cum laude here or anything like that.
No. I changed
you changed your
majors.
ways. You changed your ways, yeah.
I changed
There you
majors
go.
to marketing. And I said, all right.
And let
that's
that
enough of
be a story for you all to take out with you this morning.
But you got to learn your limitations, right? Isn't that what Clint Eastwood said? I'm like,
man's got to know his limitations.
I am not. But you know what? Then there were people, even then in the accounting classes, talking about, well, they're just going to have QuickBooks. They're going to have these programs.
Well,
they're going to take place. And look at today. You still have accountants. You still have a need.
Sure, you
for
do.
that, so.
Yeah, and we always overdo it.
Yes,
and,
we do.
And there are jobs coming up we haven't even invented yet. So there you go. Even though know that you better do better than 44% if you're going to do it well. So with that, this morning, ladies and gentlemen, Chris Markowski just around the corner, the watchdog on Wall Street, as we take a look at the economy. What President Trump is doing overseas right now in the Middle East, trying to make some new deals. What about taking the new jet? All those kind of things will come up in our next discussion with Chris Markowski, the watchdog on Wall Street, right here on the Gary Sutton Show. It is the main street of America in York County, and it's all right here on 98.9 FM and 1350 WOYK AM. It is WOYK, the Gary Sutton Show. Back with more right after this.
6:30.
Never liked this song. Ugh.
Oh, here, let me add it to the list.
Oh, yeah. The rolling Dead Sea Scrolls of I hate this music.
This was from a
it was a
Julia
movie.
Roberts movie, yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was Pretty Woman, wasn't it?
Was it Pretty Woman?
Or was it?
Pretty Woman?
Let me think for a second.
Oh, is it Runaway Bride or no? Do I have to look this up?
I thought it was Pretty Woman. Yes, you do. It's incumbent upon you to do that because it's useless information. And what are we going to do if we don't have the answer to that?
Yeah.
Someone's got to hold the grass down on that.
Julia
Welcome back.
Roberts. Let's Be Loved.
It is.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. I'm pretty
It
sure.
was Pretty Woman.
I told you.
Very good.
See? I know these things sometimes. Anyway, welcome back to the Gary Sutton Show here on WOYK. We're at 6:34 on a Thursday morning. Mark McKenzie with you. I am Gary Sutton, and glad you could join us this morning. And I'm getting a little sick of this weather, by the way. I'm just saying.
A little?
I wish I was in Florida.
I thought we needed the rain.
Well, we did. Now it's over. Let's move on. I guess we probably still do need more, but who knows? But if I were in Florida, I'd be with Chris Barkowski. We might be sitting in a bar somewhere and having a little drink and talking about the world as it is. And good morning, Chris. How are you?
Good morning. Yeah, it's sunny and beautiful.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah. In fact, you and I did that one afternoon. We had a seat in a little open air bar, and just it was lovely. We had a good time. And
Yeah.
So anyway, President Trump is overseas right now and getting wined and dined and then some, and kind of exercising his deal-making chops, I guess one might say. But he just came up with some new deals here, as many as 210 wide-body aircraft from Qatar Airways, including the 787 Dreamliner, the larger 777X model, whatever the heck that looks like, with engines from General Electric Motor. And he's doing all kinds of deals right now. Looks like he's getting some money into the coffers here. $96 billion so far they're talking about. What's your take on what the president's doing overseas right now? Any thoughts?
Well, I mean, I feel bad for Qatar. By the time they're going to get those Boeing airplanes, we're going to be doing teleportation like Star Trek, for crying out loud, at the rate that they're going. But without a doubt, I mean, Boeing should probably be building some sort of memorial to Trump over at their headquarters, for crying out loud, based upon their most recent history and, trying to do business. But I was thrilled, quite frankly, because this is the type of foreign policy that I like. Doing business with countries and trying to mend fences, and it was a real shot at the establishment, neocon. We're going to change the world. We're going to, plant our flag. Everyone's going to be exactly like us, and going out and actually, respecting other cultures and accepting that, everyone doesn't want to be just like America, and going back to, hey, let's be an example, be a shining city on a hill, and take it from there and do business. This to me was great. I mean, it was right up my alley. That was exactly what I voted for. Was this type of foreign policy, keeping us out of wars, and doing as much business as possible.
Well, and you're not going to get the president's attention better than, kind of whining and dining him, red carpet treatment. I mean, he's getting it everywhere he goes. There are a number of people in the country who are uncomfortable with how much time the president's been spending with these people over there because, obviously you're on a razor blade's edge if you're dealing with Saudi Arabia. We know the good, the bad, the ugly there. But you know what? The other part that is, too, and just being devil's advocate, is you got to deal with these people somehow around the world. There's a lot more bad people, it seems like, sometimes than there are good. Your thoughts on that, Chris?
Listen, these are customers.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to look at it this way. They have a business, okay, where they're basically, money is pouring out of their faucets every single day, and they have to find places to put it and places to invest. I mean, if you take a look at the investments that have just blown up on these countries, and it's like, it rolls off their back. I mean, before Credit Suisse went down, Saudi Arabia, their fund invested a ton of money into that, and they lost everything on it. Again, it's a great source of capital when you want to go out and build and create things. I don't see any problem with that. I think that's the people that you want to try to attract. You want to have wealthy customers and people you want to be doing business with. So I don't know why that makes anyone feel that the slightest bit uncomfortable. Trump pointed out, you look at, what was done in the UAE and Saudi Arabia in a very short period of time, and how they're trying to modernize. They're changing little by little, and they are. But they have to do it at their own pace. It's like, we plant our flag in certain countries and we think all of a sudden they're going to start listening to Lady Gaga, on their own time. Okay. And, you do this, you set an example, you do business with them, and then, you see where it goes. But I think that's the right tact.
We talked about the plane deal. He's also inked a $142 billion arms deal with Saudi Arabia, part of a $600 billion investment package. Again, you're doing business. This is where his chops are. I mean, this is where he's good at dealing in these kind of situations right now. And, they used to say in the Soviet Union, when things got bad, they went to the opera. Here, when things get bad, you get out of the country. Most presidents do, and will go out and start to do something that you're really good at. In this case, for Trump, dealing is where he lives, right?
Yeah, well, again, most certainly they're trying to put the whole tariff thing in the rearview mirror as best they possibly can, and they basically handed that over to Bissett, and we've basically walking back the entire month of April, which I'm thrilled. Quite frankly, this is fantastic. I'm actually starting to see some interesting notes and actual earnings calls from other companies where they're already expecting tariffs to come down come June, and these are like German automakers and whatnot. So obviously conversations are being had, and the Navarro camp has been sidelined. Thank God. Let's get back to doing business again, and again getting the country excited about doing business again. Obviously the big issue moving forward right now is this big beautiful bill, which I don't think is quite so beautiful at all, quite frankly. You take a look at the bond market, 10-year Treasury, 30-year Treasury, and the yields have popped up. And the reason why yields are popping up is because, hey, listen, you were supposed to be getting some sort of fiscal sanity and spending cuts in this bill, and you're just not. It's Republicans acting, just like Democrats,
right.
The uniparty. We're in power right now, and we got to get our handouts and giveaways. And it's unsustainable. It really is. People, you keep, you're thinking, oh, it's no big deal. It's no big deal. Eventually, it's a big deal. I mean, when your borrowing costs get to a certain point in time, everything, all bets are off. And you're going to really devalue the currency, and you're really going to see inflation. The Fed has to start printing money again to start paying debts.
I saw a few of the Republican senators said on Tuesday they'd like to taper some of the clean energy tax credits, phase outs, particularly for coal, capture and nuclear tax credits. And they say to have such a short window makes it difficult for investment to follow. That was Kevin Cramer from North Dakota, a Republican, on Tuesday. And some senators said they don't love some of the House's language on Medicaid cuts. Senator Susan Collins from Maine said she's inclined to support the bill's work requirements, but worries that the way provider taxes are treated would be very harmful to Maine's hospitals. And Tom Tillis from North Carolina, there will be some headwinds from incorporating Trump's campaign promises like cutting taxes on tips and overtime. He said, I'm okay with those getting done. I'm just not sure we should use reconciliation to do it. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, and again, all of these things, quite frankly, are gimmicks. They go away in a few years. Okay? They go away. If these were so great and so wonderful, you'd put them in permanently. But you can't put them in permanently because the CBO would score this thing as absolutely ridiculous. And once you start giving stuff away, they continue to give stuff away, or they expand upon it. So, again, that's why you get these tax cuts that expire over a certain period of time, things that come and go. Even some of the clean energy stuff that they're touting that they're going to take out, it doesn't phase out until 2029. I mean, if it's so great, do it now,
right? For
crying out loud. I mean, it's all of this, the usual nonsense, nothing getting done. It's basically Trump's 2017 thing. All right, you're getting the tax cuts that are in there. They're going to extend those. That's good. But as far as any sort of, pro-growth, initiatives in there, there's really not much. It really isn't. Yeah, you got the writing off the expenditures for factory equipment and expensing certain things, but those go away too. I mean, if it was so great, which I think it is great, put it in there permanently. But if they want to put it in there permanently, they've got to come up with more cuts, which they won't do.
When you watch the Republicans deal in Congress, I think Congress has made themselves somewhat, missing in action, if you will. A lot of people talking about that. But Republicans, when it comes time to govern, don't seem to have the ability to do that. They just don't. We saw it the last time Trump got elected on, let's get rid of Obamacare. Okay, let's go in. And they couldn't do that. And then they got drilled in the 2018 election. Are they on the same kind of path right here from what you can see, Chris? They don't have the conviction of what they say they're going to do?
Listen, I had a big fat epiphany this past week, and it's been bouncing around in my mind. The reality is that we are a welfare state. Okay, we are basically a Scandinavian country, European country at this point in time with the size of our welfare state. We are, basically, you've got Republicans, right? Josh Hawley's out there basically touting the Bernie Sanders line at this point in time. And again, I don't like it. I am a conservative. I'm one that believes that, I want social safety nets, but I think the goal is to get people off social safety nets. We have, there's no stigma attached to any sort of handouts or giveaways, food stamps, anything like that anymore. It's kind of just a way of life. And I think we're going to have to accept it. I wish people would think differently, but that's where we are as a nation. We are a welfare state. And, you look at the tariffs that are on there, they're probably going to end up at 10%. That essentially, and, I'm not the only one that said it this past week, it's basically a new VAT tax here in this country. It's a tax, okay, and it's going to be embedded, and you're not going to see it just like all the other embedded taxes out there. Because why? Because you keep demanding stuff. So we're going to have to continue to pay more and more taxes and higher taxes in some way, shape, manner, or form. They'll hide them, disguise them, whatever it may be. But again, you people want free stuff. Okay, it's got to be paid for.
Finally, last weekend, the United States and China met in Switzerland, and you were talking about Scott Bessent, the Secretary of the Treasury. And who's winning that battle right now? Is anybody winning, or is it just at a standstill, or are they just kind of setting the table for what's to come? What's your take of that whole deal?
I don't. Again, you can't look at. I hate to say this, but you got to almost look at it like like a kindergarten soccer match. Nobody needs to win in this. Both sides need to win, in the sense that we're not going to decouple from one another. We want to do business with one another. It got completely out of control and out of hand very, very quickly. It's like Ron Burgundy. Boy, that escalated quickly, which it did.
Right.
And then the markets push back. The markets say, this whole thing is no good. You saw that the 10-year rip. You saw the dollar fall out of bed. And again, Trump had to reevaluate and say, oh, this didn't work. Okay, this did not work, and we have to go in an opposite direction. And disguise it what it may, we went in an opposite direction, and hopefully, a better deal is being put forward. And I most certainly think that that's going to be the case.
We'll see what happens, Chris. Always good talking to you on a Thursday morning. Thank you, my friend, and I'll catch you next week. Okay.
You got it. Have a good one.
Thanks, buddy. Take care. Chris Markowski, the watchdog on Wall Street, right here on the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK. It is the Main Street of America in York County. Back with more, and Mark's got news under the radar right after this. I like this song
And why would that be?
because I like the Vogue song. I really did. Which face was this of Madonna? I saw her the other day. I didn't even recognize her. I don't know. I'm sure she'd say, "Oh, I never had any work done."
I was never a fan of her voice.
I was. I liked certain songs, and this happened to be one of them. But her voice was. But I think her voice was. You know what she was really good at? She was great at marketing herself.
Yeah.
And she was maybe one of the great marketing people of all time.
Most successful musicians are.
Yeah, but most of them don't have the hand on the pulse the way she did. She understood who she was and what she was doing and so forth. And here we go. Just one of those songs that makes you move.
You know, you haven't lived until you've seen Gary dance.
I feel like it's Studio 55 in here, you know. Not Studio 54, Studio 55. Actually, Studio 74. I don't know. I just you haven't. Can you see me moonwalking to that? I mean, I just could feel it.
I don't know. Can you moonwalk to that?
No. The only moonwalking I'd do is if I was on the moon walking. So that would be the only thing.
So we're doing 1990s bumper music today.
Yes,
so
we are, and very happily, we might add. What do you have this morning? News under the radar.
Well, you know, let's start with. I'm kind of torn because I wanted to do the Magna Carta thing first, but
okay.
I think, you know, before we get to the rights, let's do the Diddy trial.
Yeah.
Because yesterday was kind of a big day.
Do we have a shower in here we can use after we go through this? Yeah.
But here's some of what happened.
Cassie Ventura continued her bombshell testimony in New York Wednesday in the federal sex trafficking and racketeering trial of Sean Diddy Combs, claiming she had visible bruises at her movie premiere days after Combs allegedly beat her at the Intercontinental Hotel. Ventura said she used makeup to cover her face and wore a plunging dress that revealed a bruise on her arm. The jury was shown photos from the premiere and after party where she claimed she changed clothes in a popcorn closet to hide the injuries. Cassie testified that she did not name Diddy to police after the attack, saying she wanted to protect him. She also testified about another event at a music festival to being thrown into a bed frame, causing a significant gash above her eye. Michelle Polino, Fox News.
Now, the one thing I heard that kind of caught my ear was popcorn closet.
Yeah, what is that?
What is that?
Yeah, now normally with you, your eyes light up. Okay,
it is.
Was there extra butter? You know, it's no, but what? I don't know what a popcorn closet
Me neither.
is. I'm assuming it's a small closet.
I mean, granted, though, Diddy, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good when you have witnesses, but this is all going to be up to a jury, and I don't think they're done presenting evidence. So.
The thing that bothers me in all this, why do you stick around that kind of thing? Why do you stay?
Well, he had a lot of money. He was very powerful.
You just answered the question. The very first thing was
he's not the only one.
And power. I know. I'm just saying, when I say why does anybody? It's more of a general rhetorical kind of question. Yeah, because and the answer that you gave, the top two. Money and power. I mean, there you go. Money and power.
All right.
And influence.
So Diddy is guaranteed a trial.
Right.
Because that's how we do things in America.
Yeah.
Yes. So we have a process, and there are charges presented or evidence presented, and a grand jury would.
So here's a question for you, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
Is he innocent until proven guilty?
Well, yes. I mean, technically.
In theory, he is.
Yes, in theory. Right.
Yeah, now, however, in public opinion right now, is he innocent until proven guilty?
Now, you might wonder, where did this come from? It's basically due process is kind of what we're talking about. And that has been in the news, right? Due process with, some people think
sending the Venezuelans.
Immigrants, right. Where the Constitution is very clear that it's people, not citizens.
Right.
But, so where did this concept come from? Because I think a lot of people don't consider, how long humans have been around, and it hasn't always, due process has not always been. But it first showed up It was in the Magna Carta.
Right, exactly.
First drafted by and I'm reading from Wikipedia, drafted by the Archbishop of Canterbury, Cardinal Stephen Langton, to make peace between the unpopular king and a group of rebel barons who demanded that the king confirm the Charter of Liberties. And what are those? It promised the protection of church rights, protection for the barons from illegal imprisonment, access to swift and impartial justice, there's your due process, and limitations on feudal payments to the crown. In the end, neither side stood by their commitments, and there was another war. But anyway, the Magna Carta at least attempted that. Well, now we are learning that there is everybody thought it was a copy,
right?
But turns out it wasn't.
Researchers have determined the copy Harvard purchased for a mere $30 was really a version issued by Britain's King Edward I. The Magna Carta was established in 1215. It holds that the king is subject to law, and that has formed the basis for constitutions ever since. The researchers used ultraviolet light and spectral imaging to help determine the age and authenticity of the document. Gary Baumgarten, Fox News.
How exciting.
Very interesting. By the way, Penn State, we were talking about Penn State closing maybe this campus here in New York. It has not happened yet, but today they're meeting to talk about that. But Penn State football may have the fourth best class of 2025, including the top quarterback recruiting class in the nation. Troy Hune and Peyton Falzone, two names you're going to get used to hearing, are acclaimed Nittany Lion teammates of the future, two quarterbacks leading the building of what could be Coach James Franklin's most highly regarded recruiting class. They are driving Penn State's ever-growing 2026 class that ranks as high as fourth nationally by the major industry sites such as 247 Sports, 7 months before signing day. So they are really knocking it out, and includes people like Kevin Brown and running backs Messiah Mickens from Harrisburg High, safety Darrell Casey, and receiver LeVar Keys from DeMatha Catholic down in Maryland. A Penn State class with multiple quarterbacks for the first time in 4 years since senior Drew Aller and Central New York's Bo Prabula came in there together. So they are ranked as high as fourth right now, and they still have a ways to go yet. They're still getting more and more people in. So
trying to revive the Big Ten, quote unquote.
Exactly. And of course, Penn State coming up just short of playing the national championship game last year. And, there you go.
So it is Bring Flowers to Someone Day.
Bring flowers to someone day?
Someone. Doesn't
not
say
anybody
significant other. Right.
Just
someone.
grab some flowers and hand it to the first person you see and say,
yes.
To whom it may concern, have a great day.
That's it. Or just leave it there.
Got it.
International Day of Families.
Okay. Which should be every day.
Yes. National Nylon Stockings Day. Who wears nylon? Do people wear nylon?
I don't know if they still do or not.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
It is National, and this is important, Senior Fraud Awareness Day.
Yeah. Don't fraud a senior.
Yes. The romantic relationship that you are having over the internet is not with the Prince of Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Just saying. And food holidays
Probably
today.
An axe murder, whatever.
Brown bag it Thursday. Used to like brown bag.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Brown bag it.
People still carry stuff in brown bags?
I would imagine.
Or is it plastic?
Oh, that's a good point. I don't know.
I mean,
well, at least
brown
it
is
would be
degradable.
Recycling if they do that.
Right.
It is National Aperitif Day.
What is that?
That's where you have like, I don't know, sherry maybe? Some sort of like sweet little wine.
I thought it had to do with dentures.
No.
Aperitif.
And one of my favorite food holidays.
You're fighting on through this.
That's it. We don't have much time. National Chocolate Chip Day.
There you go. Which is also every day.
Love chocolate chips.
Julie Wheeler, President Commissioner of the New York County Commissioners, is up next here for an appearance this morning on the Gary Sutton Show. Doing it under protest because she's up against a deadline this morning. So she's coming in. Then Dennis Owens at 7:35, who's doing it gladly today. All here on the Gary Sutton Show. The main street of America in York County. More coming your way right after this. At the top of the hour, it is 7 o'clock.
York's only local show is back on its new home on York's only local station.
Guess who's back? Back again.
This is the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK.
I'm back.
Now, broadcasting live from WOYK's downtown York studios inside Wellspan Park, here's Gary Sutton.
And welcome back to hour number 2 of the Gary Sutton Show, where it is 7:05 on a Thursday morning, 62 degrees here on Brooks Robinson Plaza, right here at Wellspan Park. It is the Main Street of America in York County, all brought to you by Barley Snyder Law Firm, innovative legal solutions for your business. They're a law firm for today's business world. Check them out today at barley.com. Gary Sutton with you here in hour number 2. Mark McKenzie along as well. And this hour specifically brought to you by Accountability for Life, AFL. They're committed to preparing and mentoring at-risk adolescents for lifelong success using an athletics-based platform to educate them on oft-forgotten yet simple fundamental behaviors, concepts, and actions that have the power to define one's course in life and help kids to be responsible. You can go to www.aflyorkpa.info and find out all about it, or give a call to Coach Russ Stoner from York High, who is the head of that, at 717-577-0306, or stop by and see him at 755 Vogelsong Road in York. Accountability for Life. It is the beginning of hour number 2 here on the Gary Sutton Show, and we welcome in this morning Julie Wheeler, who I said she's under duress today because she's got a meeting coming up, but she agreed to do this morning anyway, just because, well, I begged. The groveling was involved this morning. Good morning, Julie. How are you?
Hey, Gary. I'm great.
Well, it's great to have you in this morning. I really appreciate you being with us today. Did I sound contrite enough on that?
You sound very gracious.
Thank you. It's only I can do it. I really can. And anyway, I wanted to ask you about a story this morning, because I know we wanted to talk a little bit about collaborations and talk a little bit about colleges. But one of the big stories the last few days has been the idea that Penn State York might close down. They're now on the list of 7. They were on a list of 12, but now they're now on the possibly extinct list here soon. And they're having a meeting today, I understand, to talk about that and then decide when they'll announce that, if indeed they do. But I guess I wanted to ask you a question this morning from a county standpoint. I mean, they've been part of it. Now, they've dropped 40% in terms of numbers of people that are going there now, and they're in the red. They're operating in a negative number. So the question would be, what happens for the county if they do become extinct? And we got those buildings sitting there. We got the Polo Center sitting there. How does the county look at something like that, if they look at it at all, if you have a role to play in that at all? Your thoughts?
Well, I think one of the big things about our community is we're resilient, right? We will figure it out together. The county has had some preliminary discussions with various stakeholders in the community. Certainly, we've got another wonderful college here, York College.
Right.
We also have resources with HAC. We've got a lot of other educational opportunities here. So I think that we'll come together and figure out how to best, repurpose and use that space. It is a little bit disappointing, but certainly I get that they're a business, a college business, and they've got to make decisions that they think are in the best interest of their stakeholders. So we will certainly be disappointed. So if you're listening out there, I'd love to put another plug in to stay in York County, because I do think they have a lot to offer our students. And just like the Polo Center, that's a great example. This Sunday, the Distinguished Young Women competition is going to be held there at the Polo Center. So I'm sure we can find another home for that event, but it's going to take some collaboration with community stakeholders to figure out how to navigate that closure.
Well, and again, as you said, we have the ability to come up with some new ideas. We're always looking. I know you're always looking for possibilities, and all the county commissioners. But I think we've got a nice facility up there, a nice infrastructure already in place. It'll be interesting to see what happens if that becomes a for-profit institution or something else. Certainly some good possibilities. What else can we talk about this morning? We're talking a little bit about collaboration, and you just entered into, you're talking about a little bit about colleges this morning. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm excited to share with you and your listeners that, big thing for me is collaboration and innovation, and we just entered into a unique arrangement with our friends at York College. So big shout out to Dr. Burns and Jeff Vermillion for helping us with with this, but as an employer, which the county is, and I'm sure your business owners that are listening will say, what is your most valuable resource, right? It's not property, it's not capital, it's people. And, there's a reason that in York County government, we've made people one of our core strategic anchors. So it's an important resource, and good employers invest in their people. And that means professional development, training, all of those things. So to cut to the chase, we entered into agreement with York College that will enable our Information Technology Service Department to access the Career Academy for online learning. So I'm really excited about that. It's a pilot, so we hope it's successful and that we will expand that to future departments at the county.
As you look out ahead, and this is something I wanted to ask you about, as a person that, is a county commissioner along with the two other commissioners that we have here, as you look out there, what things are you looking at constantly out on the horizon? Because you can't sit pat on your hand. You're never doing that. You're always saying, okay, here's what we have, but where do we want to be in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? How do you plan out as county commissioners on something like that? I'd like to know kind of the thought process there.
With training and development, you mean specifically?
Well, training and development, but also, different projects that you're looking at on the horizon coming up in terms of a plan for the county. Because I know, it's like juggling, a lot of different balls at one time. You're saying, what do we want this county to look like in 5 years, in 10 years? And how the plans are kind of arrived at for those kind of benchmarks?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as you know, we embarked on a strategic planning process back in 2021. We've identified strategic anchors. So one of the things that we do on an annual basis is at a high level, we get together and look at what are the big initiatives that we want to drive. Like, what do we need to do in York County government to improve the services that we provide to our community, and how can we continue to collaborate with community agencies? So we look at that at an overall high level. So like water quality has been something that's been on our radar for, 4 years. We talked about that the other week. But then what we do is we reach out to our directors, and they sit and they look at their organization and look at the problems they're trying to solve, the issues they have, and they come up with, hey, here's a goal that we want to work on, both short-term and long-term. So it is a continual process that we go through every year with our executive directors and directors on, hey, what do we need to do for the future? What plans do we need to put in place? So it's just become part of our operating mechanism that we have at York County government.
Julie, as you look at things, do you ever look at what's most in need? Now, you mentioned about water quality and so forth, but what's most in need? Do you prioritize down through there a lot? I mean, I'm probably asking a really simple, stupid question, but
no, it's a great question.
Yeah.
So we prioritize based on input from our directors, input from our constituents, and community stakeholders.
Okay.
We are always out, whether we're talking to a small business owner or we're going to visit a nonprofit, talking and listening on, what keeps them up at night and what role can county government play to help them alleviate some of the pressure points that they have. So it's really a collaborative effort. It's not just like we go in a room and, come out in the smoke-filled room like they do at the conclave, right, when they're picking the next pope. Right, and we don't do that. Like, we really go out and talk to folks and figure out how we need to set our priorities. And sometimes we have to pivot.
Yeah.
But that's just the reality, right? You recognize you've got to pivot, and then you pivot and adjust and go forward.
And living in my world of spontaneity here in the moment, and I know you normally collect lots of data before you say things, but as you would look at things right now, you'd say, what is the, and not that anything is necessarily real bad, but what is the strongest thing about York County right now, and what maybe is the thing that's most in need of improvement right now in York County?
That is a big question.
I know. I said in my world of spontaneity, that's why I prefaced it by saying that. But just as a general thought, I'm not going to ask you to go into all the nitty gritty of all that. But, the strongest thing about York County right now, maybe the thing most in need of improvement.
Well, I think the strongest thing is, again, we are a resilient community. We come together when we need to solve some of the toughest problems. Recently we had the incident at UPMC, right?
Yeah,
community rallied around, first responders, UPMC to, be there to support. I don't know. I don't want to pick one thing, but one issue that we do have in York County that we've got a lot of people working on is housing and stable housing, right? Whether that's affordable housing, whether that's fair market housing, we really do have an issue with housing in our community that we've got to solve.
What is the biggest issue with it? I saw numbers today, for example, like spring housing is down this year. And, people are, I was at a meeting not too long ago with Explore York, or not Explore York, but Better York. And they were talking about the various kinds of housing availability in the community, and especially for people who are having a tough time finding some housing right now. So I know what you're talking about. But specifically, what are some of the things that people are running up against right now in terms of housing here in York County?
Well, some of it is just plain inventory, right?
Yeah,
There's just a lack of housing. And again, it could be apartments, single-family homes, or affordable housing. It's just we don't have a huge inventory of homes. And don't quote me on this number. I'm probably in the ballpark. Like 65% of our homes are older than the 1970s.
Wow.
So, we have to figure out ways to, upgrade our homes and increase our capacity.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where all that goes. And again, as generations move forward here, too, and affordability and all that, and of course the tariffs have something to say about that, too, wherever they go in terms of materials and things like that. So I guess there's a lot to be talked about there. Final thoughts this morning. Now, I know you're heading off to a meeting right now, and we really appreciate you taking time out to be with us this morning, but final thoughts today.
Oh, sure. I was just going to highlight, this week is a big week for our conservation district. We're hosting our annual Envirothon. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's an environmental education competition for students in our area where they learn about aquatics and forestry and wildlife, but also learn team birding skills, sportsmanship, research skills. And so we are thrilled that we're hosting that. Big shout out to our sponsors and our volunteers who help make that successful. And we will touch over 900 students with our program this year. 60 schools, 15 school districts. So looking forward to the rest of the week.
Julie, we'll be back together at our normal time next week, I think. But anyway, thanks for taking time out today. Yeah, don't let those meetings get in the way. All that stuff like doing your job gets in the way of being on our show. I mean, you know how it goes. Anyway,
I know how it goes. All right. Thanks, Gary. Have a great day.
Tongue firmly planted in cheek, by the way. Have a great day. Thanks for being with us.
Bye-bye.
Julie Wheeler, our President Commissioner of the York County Commissioners, right here on the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK. It is the Main Street of America, and yes, right here in York County. Back with more right after this.
Fox Sports Update.
And Minnesota's got a squad. They are a worthy entry into the Western Conference Finals in 2025.
For the first time in franchise history, the Minnesota Timberwolves have advanced to the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row. On TNT, the T-Wolves took out the Warriors in Game 5 in Minneapolis, 121-110. Golden State lost all 4 games since Steph Curry went down with a hamstring injury in Game 2. Last night, Julius Randle had 13 of 18 field goal attempts, led Minnesota with 29 points. Anthony Edwards had 22, along with 12 assists. Minnesota awaits the winner of the series between Oklahoma City and Denver. The Thunder with a 3-2 lead and a chance to win the series tonight. If the Nuggets win Game 6 at home, it would mean the T-Wolves would have 5 days off before they would have to start the Western Conference Finals. The Celtics are still alive. The Boston 3-partied last night.
Celtics tonight at 22 threes, and they win the elimination game over the New York Knicks in a game that Brunson fouled out of. Cornette with great rim protection and 7 block shots tonight. The Celtics win it by 25.
On TNT, the Celtics outscored the Knicks by 25 points in the second half to win the game, 127-102. Luke Cornette had 7 blocked shots for the Celtics, who blocked the Knicks from moving into the Eastern Conference Finals. Derek White hit 7 3-pointers for Boston, scored a game-high 34 points. Jaylen Brown had 26 to go with 12 assists. Celtics trail 3-2, face another must-win in Game 6 tomorrow in New York. The winner of the series will play the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals. Hockey, Oilers eliminated the Golden Knights with a 1-0 win in overtime. Edmonton into the Western Conference Finals. The Florida Panthers raked the Maple Leafs 6-1 to go up 3-2. You can listen to and follow the Fox Sports Podcast at foxsports.com or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jared Max.
Get more on the Fox Sports app and foxsports.com.
You know, I was reading a story this morning, Mark. By the way, I was surprised that the Celtics won last night over New York.
Why were you surprised?
Well, with what's his
Jason Tatum.
Tatum down. I mean, he just had an operation.
The team rallied.
Yeah, did they ever? But it's really neat to see. I love that kind of thing when a star goes down and somehow they find somebody else and they figure out how to kind of spread the wealth around in terms of scoring and so forth. And they did exactly that and scored 127 points.
Can they beat the Knicks 2 more games?
I don't think so.
Me neither.
I doubt it. But you know what? It was neat to see some resilience right there. By the way, speaking of resilience, Tom Cruise nearly met his end on The Final Reckoning.
It's funny you should mention that.
Yeah.
Because there is a little bit of detail to go with and see what you can add after we check this out, because it's the director talking about it.
Tom Cruise continues to defy expectations with his latest stunts in Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. During a masterclass event at the Cannes Film Festival, director Christopher McQuarrie revealed that in one scene, Cruise flies a biplane alone at 10,000 feet, acting as pilot, camera crew, and lighting technician. At one point, he climbs onto the wing as wind blasts him at 140 miles per hour, pushing himself to the limit. He became so exhausted, he could barely move. With only 3 minutes of fuel left,
I need you to trust me. One last time.
He eventually got back in the cockpit and landed. McQuarrie said, "No one on Earth could do that." The film was out May 23rd. Michelle Polino, Fox News.
Yeah, he does all of his own stunts. He was flying the biplane alone. He was laid out on the flat on the wing after spending 22 minutes out of the cockpit.
Crazy.
10 more than safety guidelines allowed to do the movie. That's according to his director, Christopher McQuarrie, and told a master class at the Cannes Film Festival where Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is premiering Wednesday. He gave a little talk on that. He said, when you leave the cockpit of the plane, it's like stepping onto the surface of another planet.
I can't imagine doing that.
And then they said the wind was hitting you in excess of 140 miles an hour. That's 225 miles kph. But anyway, coming off the propeller, you're breathing, but only physically. You're not actually getting oxygen.
Wow.
Tom had pushed himself to the point that he was so physically exhausted he couldn't get back off the wing. They thought he had passed out. And he was lying on the wing, his arms hanging over the front. He could not tell if he was conscious or not, said the American filmmaker who has shot the 4 last movies of the franchise. Now, I have a feeling he may have souped this up a little bit, however, but still, that's pretty impressive, and you're doing all this yourself.
I'm going to tell you, he is one of the guys, if you're at home and you turn on a movie, and you turn on the TV and you see it's a Tom Cruise movie.
Yeah.
What are the odds you're going to you watch it? Because I think it's the odds are great.
Well, knowing this, you're now going to watch it for sure. He's a trained acrobatics pilot, by the way, Cruise is.
Amazing.
He had agreed a hand signal to show if he was in trouble, McQuarrie said. You can't do this when you're unconscious, the director told an audience, with Cruise sitting beside him, nodding sheepishly. To make matters worse, the plane had only 6 minutes of fuel left, as you heard right there.
Oh, my gosh.
But the star finally stirred. They thought he was out. And they said, we watched Tom as he pulled himself up, stuck his head in the cockpit so that he could replenish the oxygen in his body and then climb into the cockpit and bring the plane safely down to land. No one on earth can do that but Tom Cruise, he said, to rapturous applause.
So here's what's going to happen.
Go ahead.
Either he's Tom Cruise is going to die of old age,
or he's going to die of
in one of these
old planes.
Absolutely, he's going to during filming of one of these things, and it's just amazing. I find, what are some of the big films these days?
Right.
It's the superheroes, Justice League, and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
For me, it's a Tom Cruise movie. It's filled with action and adventure, and a lot of that stuff is him doing it. It's not CGI, or most of it isn't CGI. Very entertaining, and not the kind of stuff where I can't quite figure out what's happening.
Yeah, I even like the Jack Reacher franchises,
all
because
of the science fiction
he kicks
stuff.
butt. He's just a badass in that. And then he said, it was interesting. In the end, he said, I feel the feeling of fear. It's just an emotion for me. It's something that is not paralyzing. He said, I'm like, oh, that's exciting. I don't mind. I don't mind kind of encountering the unknown, insisting this is what I dreamed of doing as a kid. He said it was far from the only scare the pair had on the $400 million epic, the eighth in the franchise, known for its dizzying set pieces and heart-stopping action sequences and scenes.
If you remember, well, did you see Dead Reckoning?
No, I did not.
Last year. So I couldn't wait to see that. So we went to see it. And of course, they kept it a secret, but it wasn't until the movie ended that you realized there was a part 2. And you had to wait a year next weekend, to see it. So can't wait to get this image that he's put together completed.
Well, here's something else, too. McQuarrie, the producer, said it took 2.5 years to build the set in London. 2.5 years to build the set for the movie. He said, remember that when you're watching Tom inside a semi-submerged rotating room inside the submarine that is housed inside a 60-foot diameter, 1,000-ton, 360-degree rotating, fully submersible steel gimbal in an 8.5 million-liter tanker, and he's inside it, he said.
Unbelievable.
And what you're watching is us testing it, because there's no way to test that thing. He said, we built a model, we put a little plastic figure and a bunch of torpedoes in it and rotated it once, and they smashed a little plastic figure. So, I mean, this Tom Cruise in some real dangerous stuff here.
Setting the standard.
Yeah.
He sets the standard.
Yeah, he really does. So, a little bit more of the Tom Cruise movies than maybe we thought.
Now,
go ahead.
You have time? We don't have much time.
No.
And since you were talking about him doing this, walking on a plane, let's talk like one story. I think we have time for one story about a plane. Have you ever heard of hypersonic?
I have heard of that, actually, yes.
I'm not quite exactly sure what that is.
Yeah.
But, something new to report.
The Pentagon is working with private companies like Stratolaunch to develop new hypersonic technology like the one we're standing next to, a 1-to-1 mock-up of Talon A, the first reusable hypersonic aircraft developed here in the United States since 1968. And this thing can go really fast, more than 4,000 miles per hour. This thing has the capability to go up to Mach 6. Right now, Stratolaunch has only launched 2 hypersonic flights with Talon A, but they're hoping in the near future to be doing multiple hypersonic flights every single month.
Boy, imagine how that would really shrink plane flight. Remember they had the one...
well, it travels in excess of 6,000 miles an hour. That's faster than you can think. I mean, I'm just saying. Anyway, this hour brought to you by Accountability for Life. They provide coaches, educators, and other community-based partners with a character-building resource toolkit aimed at promoting the importance of accountability in all areas of a student-athlete's life by teaching and modeling the concept of integrity and requiring ownership of one's actions. In other words, being responsible. Check out all of this at www.aflyorkpa.info. That's Accountability for Life. Or you can give a call to Russ Stoner, the head coach at York High in football, 717-577-0306. Or go to visit them at 755 Vogelsong Road right here in York. Coming up next, Dennis Owens, ABC 27 News, takes a look at John Fetterman. What's going on with our senior senator of Pennsylvania? We'll find out when we come back here. Dennis Owens joins us on the Gary Sutton Show, the Main Street of America in York County, all right here on WOYK. Little Janet Jackson, well, she disappeared off the scene, didn't she?
You know, you get to a point in your life where you don't need it anymore.
Well,
right?
Yeah.
So, and maybe she saw what her brother did with his life.
Could be.
She maybe wanted something different.
I mean, she really has gone into witness protection, hasn't she? I mean, you don't hear about her, you don't see her anywhere. I guess she has family or whatever. I don't know.
I don't know.
Don't know much about her?
I think she had been married at least once before.
Yeah. So anyway, but good entertainer.
Yes.
Ran out of clothing now and then. She and Justin Timberlake in one halftime performance there.
This was
gave us two new terms: wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah, that's
recall that.
Right.
Yeah.
I do. That's a whole new term.
Yeah, it was. We don't stay away from that. Just keeping you abreast of that whole thing. So anyway, welcome back to Gary Sutton Show here on WOYK. We're at 7:35 on a Thursday morning. All of this hour being brought to you by Accountability for Life, where they provide coaches and educators and other community-based partners help with helping kids be accountable. Yeah, with old-time values. Yeah, and really what Russ Stoner and the people over there are doing is really good stuff. Concept of integrity and requiring ownership of one's actions, teaching kids some of the right things through athletics, and they're doing some wonderful things over there. Check them out at www.aflyorkpa.info. That's aflyorkpa.info, or give a call to Russ Stoner. He'll talk to you all about the program. Believe me, he's a guy that's excited and enthusiastic. 717-577-0306, or assistant coach Mike Terrell at 717-250-8961. Gary Sutton with you, Mark McKenzie as well, and Dennis Owens joins us here this morning from ABC 27 News. Good morning, Dennis. How you doing, my friend?
Well, good morning to you, Gary.
Well, it's great to have you. And hey, what is going on with our senior senator here from the state, John Fetterman? Do you have any inside stuff on this? I mean, I'm seeing staff is quitting, and there's questions about his mental health. But I wonder if it's more political than it is mental, because he went to see Trump at Mar-a-Lago. He's, going against his party a couple of times. I don't know. Make some sense out of this for me this morning, will you?
Well, you've given me a difficult assignment, making sense out of John Fetterman. That's difficult in normal circumstances.
Right.
And I will tell you from behind the scenes, he has gone through a lot of staff. He's gone through a lot of PR. His behavior in terms, in many people's view, has been erratic.
Yep.
There can be health issues. I mean, some of the people that have commented for the stories that we're discussing here and where all this came about, they weren't John Fetterman dislikers. In fact, quite the opposite, and stayed quiet for a long time, they say, before coming forward. I wish I could give you an answer, but I can't get him to respond to multiple requests for comment. His team has changed. The people keep changing, so it's hard to keep track of. And by comparison, I can talk to Dave McCormick anytime I want to. I do. And in fact, did an interview with him. It'll be on This Week in Pennsylvania this week, but I just did an interview. He was in Hershey this week. I sat down with him, and he's one of the most ardent and strident defenders of John Fetterman.
I know he is.
On the progressive side of the party, I don't know that an endorsement from Dave McCormick is going to help John Fetterman any.
Right.
But nonetheless, he's saying he believes what you just said, that this is all political, that the John Fetterman he sees and works with is coherent and on it as far as the issues are concerned. Of course, John Fetterman also is one of the top senators for missing votes, not showing up.
Yeah.
And I think Pennsylvanians, of all the states, Pennsylvanians are is a state that, you expect people to work and do the job that they're being paid for.
I don't have a thought on the whole thing with Fetterman, and I don't go right to the political or right to the psychological stuff for it, because I don't know. I never, one of the rules I've always kind of had is I don't pretend to know. Okay, I don't know what all's going on. Yeah, because that's dangerous. And I think, you and I are in the world where we want to try to get to the truth. You want to try to get to what is the right thing. But, you simply read about the perception, and then you try to dig down a little bit further and see what's going on. So I just, the one thing I've always been concerned about in this whole story of John Fetterman has been, has he been used, or is he still being used by people for political purposes? When he ran, and a lot of people say, wait a second, you should be worried more about your mental state than trying to win an election. But, people were pushing him over because the numbers, more Democrats, Republicans, or now you see it and you say Republicans are saying, well, maybe he'll come over to our side, or maybe he's moving in our direction. It makes me sick when I see that. I always like to get down to what's the best thing for the person involved. And you just don't know when they're on the public stage like this and fighting some of the limitations that he had coming into this whole job, right?
Well, I agree. One thing I think the appeal of the current John Fetterman to a lot of people is that he is not what most Americans are not, and that is completely beholden to the party and defending them even when they take ridiculous positions. He calls it out. He calls balls and strikes as he sees them, and I think that's the way most Americans are. We're not going to say something is good just because it's what the Democrats want us to say, in his case anyway. But he seems to take occasional positions that are contrary to what his party would otherwise want him to be saying. And I think most people are like that.
Well, I agree with you. I think most people find it refreshing when you have a politician who says, let me take a look at the issue. The heck with my side. I'm looking at it and thinking through it. This is what I think. And they say some common sense thing that we might say on Main Street every day. I think you're absolutely right on that, Dennis. And I think that's where why a lot of people like a little bit about what he's doing when he comments like that. He has not commented a lot lately, though, which has been kind of interesting to me. And again, I don't know the reasons why. I wouldn't begin to project that. But I do think you're exactly right that most of us talk like that. And we like it when our politicians are moving in that direction. I think we're seeing more of a trend in that direction by people, if you look at the last election, who say, I want to know more about what you're going to do. I don't particularly care about what side. Do you see the same kind of trend?
I agree. And I think there's a real frustration with people. And frankly, it was the way Democrats protected Joe Biden as well. There's nothing to see here, nothing to see here. Everybody's got to say nice things about Joe Biden. You know, there's almost a dishonesty to some of it that really frustrates the electorate, I think. And to have somebody just saying something candidly and honestly, let's be clear, John Fetterman was one of the largest defenders of Joe Biden as well. He didn't even think they should have changed him out for Kamala Harris.
Right.
So, but nonetheless, I think that being willing to call out your party. You know who I find interesting?
Go ahead.
Bill Maher.
Oh,
I don't know to what degree you pay attention to him.
I do.
But I think he has honed in on exactly what we're talking about here. So it was funny, but my progressive friends and Democratic friends loved Bill Maher when all he ever did was do screeds against Republicans. Well, now that he's come back and takes shots at Democrats, now they don't like him so much. And I find that interesting because I think Bill Maher is mostly right and certainly usually has a smart and funny take.
Yep.
But I think that he's willing that nobody's sacred and everybody's ox can get gored.
Well, I always liked Bill Maher, and it didn't matter to me. We'd take shots at the other side. But, when he went to the White House, and I guess he had dinner with the president, spent an evening with him. And what was fascinating to me on that was he came back later on, he got some criticism. He said, wait a second. Listen, I don't agree with the guy's politics. I don't like a lot of things he's doing. He said, I'm totally in disagreement. But, the guy's kind of, I kind of had a nice evening. He's an okay guy. I spent time with him.
By the way, he is the president, and I'll give John Fetterman credit for that, too. Fetterman did that before Bill Maher did. He went to the White House.
Went to Mar-a-Lago also.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Your job is to try to do the best you can for the people of Pennsylvania. Having a relationship with the President of the United States might not hurt.
Well, you know what else it is, too? And I think this is something to be brought up here, Dennis, is reality. The reality is this is the guy that's your president of the United States, whether you like it or not, so you have to deal with him. It's kind of like us dealing with Saudi Arabia and China and all these various places. We don't necessarily like them, but guess what? The reality is they're there. You got to deal with them. And I think one of the reasons that maybe Democrats have gotten in some problems right now is the fact that someone just don't want to deal with them. Well, that's not the reality. And meanwhile, he's running out and putting executive orders down everywhere while the Congress is kind of floundering.
Well, it's interesting that a month into the Trump presidency, second presidency, Chuck Schumer is saying our strategy, our goal is to bring down his approval rating. So basically, we want to make the president look bad. We're going to try to block him at every turn, and we bring his approval rating down. And then Congress, Republicans in Congress that thus far are supporting him will have to come the other way. So you're telling me as a top Democrat in the United States, your goal is to make the president look bad now, and you don't even have a plan of your own. Your plan is to make the other guy look bad? That's nonsense. Well, I don't care what your party is. Everybody should root for him to do well. And by the way, I'm hoping this different approach to trade and tariffs, and I'm hoping in a month or two that our economy's better off and things are booming. That's good for all of us.
Well, I think
and
that's
we
the
all
idea.
Should be rooting for the president, regardless of what party. The same as I would say the same thing about Joe Biden.
Right, I would too.
We all should be rooting for him to do well.
Yeah, the idea of rooting against your president is kind of like that's a new concept for me a little bit. Listen, I understand you could say my party's the loyal opposition or anything like that. That's fine. But in a time when you and I just talked about a moment ago, the trend is we want to see people get stuff done, and people are kind of annoyed when parties don't do that, and we're seeing some of that in various exit polls and polling around the country. That's a risky kind of a look at it. Is that it just trying to pull down the approval ratings of the president so that you will look better by association? I looked at saw the Republicans are at 39% approval rating. The Democrats are at 27%. So not exactly shiny numbers to be playing that game with. Final thoughts.
I agree. Look, we have to, again, and regardless of the politics.
Right.
I think we all should be rooting for the best. And, hey, he has a different approach. Give him a chance. Again, I say the same things about, rooting against and or saying, oh, my God, this is terrible. Well, the fact of the matter is we don't know what's terrible. It is a different approach. Give him a chance. If it then fails, well, voters will take that into account.
Well, here's one other aspect of this before we close, too, Dennis. And I got in an argument with someone the other day. Said, I heard you say on the air you're rooting for the Democrats to get stronger. I said, I'm rooting for the Democrats to have good ideas. And I said, because I think the American people need to have good ideas from both their political parties, since we are kind of a bicameral look at this country. But I said, I want good ideas to choose from both sides that both want to do the very best for America. And that's why I want them to have better ideas now. And at the moment, I think they're dealing in some ridiculousness on a lot of different ideas that they're playing around with. So I said, I'm rooting for that. So I think we're all rooting for both sides to be stronger so that we have good choices from which to take. There, now I'll let you have a final thought on that, okay?
Well, again, yeah, completely agree with that. And actually having good candidates on all sides is better for all of us. And I'm not sure that's always been the case, by the way.
No, I know.
So anyway, yeah, so I'm in the, I think most people should be in the wait and see. Let's see what happens. And again, you don't have to agree with them, but you shouldn't necessarily be rooting for.
Well,
that's the only thing that
Yeah, I mean, I get the idea. He's not a guy that's going to be likable to everybody. He's not going to be unlikable to everybody. But by the same token, let's be rooting for all of our groups in the country to get it done here, all in the name of the best interest of all of us, right? I think that's kind of what we're looking for. Dennis, always great to have you on, man. Thank you so much. Looking forward to next week with you, my friend.
Have a great weekend.
You too, buddy. Take care. Dennis Owens, ABC 27 News, with us here this morning on the Gary Sutton Show. It's 7:47. This is the Main Street of America in York County, and it's all right here on 98.9 FM and 1350 WOYK. I'm Gary Sutton, back with more right after this.
It is.
Yeah.
Another day in paradise.
Another day in paradise. That's what it is to hear every day. Another day in paradise. I think. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, let me tell you about Barley Snyder, our presenting sponsor here, by the way. They're attorneys at law, and they're a strategically focused law firm. They represent businesses and organizations and individuals in all major areas of civil law, ladies and gentlemen. And they have offices throughout Pennsylvania and Maryland, one right here in York at 100 East Market Street, where you can give them a call at 717-846-8888. They're open 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. They have 130 attorneys at Barley Snyder throughout Pennsylvania and Maryland, and they provide innovative and effective representation. I tell you what, it's amazing the areas that they cover: banking and business, higher education, immigration, intellectual property and patents, litigation and risk management, cybersecurity, employment and employee benefits, municipal and municipal authority, transportation, logistics and trade, environment and energy, ESOP programs, trusts and estates, food and agribusiness, real estate and construction, hospitality, tax, healthcare, and senior living. Just to name a few. I mean, they are involved in all of that, and their expertise is the best you're going to find anywhere. Their clients benefit from having available to them in one law firm the wide range of knowledgeable and experience represented among their practice areas. And they believe that strong individual relationships and personal attention are really the essential elements in serving their clients, and they place great emphasis on a full understanding of each client's needs and objectives to provide the most effective representation. And the representation is the proof. They do a great job with that. They provide the kind of service their clients expect and deserve by working with a hands-on collaborative approach to legal representation. Barley Snyder Law Firm, attorneys at law. You can find them at barley.com. Check them out today. Proud sponsors here of our show, and so glad to have them aboard as our presenting sponsor here on the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK. It is the Main Street of America and York County. Some news you might have missed, Mark.
Oh, cool.
I don't know if you're aware of some of this. A man has a condition where he confuses hot and cold sensations. Not surprisingly, he works as a hotel shower tester. Yeah, that's. I just was reading that. I don't know if it's true.
No.
Let's see. Americans rate their financial happiness 4.9 out of 10. I saw this in a recent study. I knew I was in trouble when I opened my wallet and air hissed out like a mummy's tomb. So that was what happened there. Let's see. The Menendez brothers are now eligible for parole. There's a load off. Yeah. However, they would still not be allowed within 500 feet of any parents. So that's right. Yeah. They don't have good experience with that.
No.
Yeah. McDonald's plans to hire 375,000 employees this summer. But they still won't have a single worker who can fix the ice cream machine.
That's right.
They're looking for that. Every time you go there, the ice cream machine is broken at McDonald's. And new research, speaking of fast food, new research shows taking Ozempic or Wegovy can make you hate meat. Another thing that makes you hate meat is eating at Arby's. That can help you hate meat,
we
too.
We got the meat.
Yeah, we have the meats. Yeah, anyway, Arby's is okay. They have good food. TikTok users identified a brown spot under a woman's fingernail as cancer. So if you keep track of redeeming TikTok moments, there's one. Yeah, I mean, that's the one. You can look at that. Let's see what else. It's prom season. You can tell because Bill Belichick cut North Carolina's practice short to shop for dresses for his girlfriend. Yeah, prom season, see? She's a little younger than he is, yeah.
A little.
By about 40 years younger, yeah.
Too funny.
Today is Bring Flowers to Someone Day. Mark mentioned that earlier. Of course, Miley Cyrus will bring them to herself. The good news is Mother's Day bouquets are now on clearance.
Oh,
so
yeah.
There you
Good
go.
point.
So, yeah, you could get Mark wrote that down. Yeah. Let's see what else. Let's see. Engineers have developed elder care robots capable of assisting seniors with activities such as sitting and standing. Your creepy grandpa wants to know if those robots can do other things. I hope not. A Louisiana man was arrested for, well, no, I'm not even going to go in that one. Let's see. A stamp dedicated to Barbara Bush was unveiled. I'll let you guess why Ellen DeGeneres can't wait to lick it. I don't know. No, that's
goodness.
bad. It's a bad thing.
Oh,
bad
my
thing,
goodness.
Bad thing. No. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says people shouldn't be taking medical advice from him. Asked who they should take medical advice from. He said the internet's pretty good with that stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
Also, the Magic 8 Ball. I don't know if that's true or not.
Yes.
What's next? Not being able to ask Katy Perry questions about astrophysics? I mean, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Major League Baseball has removed 17 deceased players from its banned list, making them eligible for the Hall of Fame. They're also eligible to emerge from a cornfield in Iowa.
Just like
Field
they
of
did
Dreams.
in the movie.
Field
Yeah.
of Dreams, yeah. Shaquille O'Neal's former Ohio mansion is on the market for $2.75 million. It's made entirely of bricks he shot from the free throw line. Yeah, that's what it's made of. They're saying that. I don't know. And finally, former NFL star Ray Lewis turns 50 today. I don't know what he's doing these days, but I'm sure he's killing it. He's killing it. That was from the,
speaking of the Ravens,
Go ahead.
Congratulations to Derrick Henry. He got
Absolutely.
a 2-year, $15 million, well, I guess $15 million a year.
Yeah.
To stay with Baltimore.
It's a good reason to stay with Baltimore.
I'm going to tell you, he was integral in helping them last season. So
I tell you what, he's rock solid.
and
as
he's
a
over
runner.
30, so that's you don't see that every day.
You know what, though? He drags people around with him
No
a lot.
doubt.
Yeah.
Crazy. So I'm looking at, we have various sources that we look for information, and I'm looking at a story from, I guess it's on Blue Sky here, and it's a guy, and he posts, please enjoy this stock photo the local CBS affiliate chose for a story about traffic this summer. So I look at the story, and it says, headline, millions expected to travel this Memorial Day, breaking 20-year-old record. And then I look at the picture, and you can see a lot of cars on this one side of the highway. And then you look at the cars.
Okay.
So in the front is a white Ford Bronco.
Oh, no.
And behind him are all these cop cars.
Oh, no.
I mean, if you just quickly looked at the picture, you'd say, oh, it's lots of cars on a highway, so let's throw that in for this story. But if you, it's from the O.J. Simpson chase.
Lord.
I just could not believe it. Somebody would make that kind of a mistake. Or did they? Or did they?
Or did they want
Yes.
Yes.
Hey, got some good news.
Go ahead.
Health overdoses went down. Let's check this out because it's a pretty important story.
The CDC said the drop was 27%, down to about 80,000 last year from 110,000 in 2023. More availability of naloxone has been credited in part for the decrease, but a proposed cut to a grant that trains responders to use naloxone brings concerns of losing those gains. HHS Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. told Pennsylvania Democratic Representative Madeline Dean at a Wednesday House hearing those drugs will be available.
Inpatient, outpatient.
You're
we run
zeroing
500
them out.
we run 500 addiction centers. We're not going to stop doing that.
The CDC.
Congratulations to at least getting the numbers down initially. But stand by. We've got more of the show coming up in just minutes. Let's get a news update. It's 8 o'clock.
York's only local show is back on its new home on York's only local station.
Guess who's back? Back again.
This is the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK.
I'm back.
Now, broadcasting live from WOYK's downtown York studios inside Wellspan Park, here's Gary Sutton.
Welcome back to the final hour of the Gary Sutton Show here on a Thursday morning, brought to you by Barley Snyder Law Firm, innovative legal solutions for your business. They're a law firm for today's business world. Check them out at barley.com. This is the main street of America in York County, the Gary Sutton Show. Mark McKenzie here this morning. I am Gary Sutton. And this particular hour brought to you by Augie's Joint. That's exactly right, Augie's Joint. Right there at Central Market. They're open today, by the way, 5 days a week, Tuesday to Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. right there at the Central Market. And I'll tell you what, Mark, you ready for this one?
Yes.
This week's burger special is the Old Number 7. You say, Gary, what is the Old Number 7, which has caramelized Jack Daniel's onions, bacon, mayo, barbecue sauce, and pepper Jack Daniel's cheese on a toasted brioche bun?
Sounds great.
If you didn't like that, they have a hot dog special, the Mediterranean.
What's that?
It's an all-beef hot dog topped with, I have to say this, I'm slobbering, topped with pesto, roasted red peppers, sun-dried tomato, basil, goat cheese, and pine nuts.
Oh, my Lord.
On a hot dog. This is the hot dog special, the Mediterranean it's called. And they've got all kinds, they got one of the great chili dogs of all time, by the way. I did a picture the other week and I put it up on Facebook. They're open 5 days a week, Tuesday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Stop out at the Central Market today at Augie's Joint. Brent and Jewel are knocking it down. I'm telling you what, great food out there. And if you ask him for a little combination now and then, he'll even build that for you too. Brent is very innovative. But it's Augie's Joint, 5 days a week now, open Tuesday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So it's not just Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays. Now it's 5 days a week. Augie's Joint, our sponsor of this hour. And with that, we turn right now to Joel Sears, who I'm sure I made a little bit hungry. He is our citizen activist. He keeps an eye on policy for us, and he's with us here this morning. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well, Gary. How are you?
Good. Have you been down to Augie's Joint yet?
Matter of fact, I have.
And what did you think?
Well, I was surprised, frankly, because there's a variety on the menu. I'm not going to try to plug the place, but that's what I saw. Wide variety on the menu, and what I had was part of a celebration. So all the food was already out. We didn't have to order anything.
Wow.
That gave us a chance to sample everything on the menu, and it was really, really good.
Good.
Really good.
See, I'm telling you, I watch him make this stuff, and I'm a chili dog connoisseur, as some might know, and they have the right kind of chili. No beans in the chili down there, and I loved it. I did not put any ketchup on in deference to Mark, because if I do that, people always say, "Hey, what would Mark say?" I'm tired of that, so I put mustard on instead.
Mark, your food conscience.
Well, it is. He is. I mean, on that one item. Because it's been, as people well know, and people go out and say, "Hey, you're putting a hot dog, you're putting I don't even put ketchup on a hot dog anymore. I stopped doing it. I like flinch every time I do that. Anyway,
the last time I ate one with you, you put it on.
No, I'm not. I won't do it again. I promise.
It was more than a year ago.
Yeah, that's it. I've reformed since. I'm a better man for it too. Anyway, Joel, what do you have for us this morning? You're always keeping an eye on things that are going on. Yeah.
Sunday, things had calmed down a little bit on the World Trade scene, so I took off my neck brace.
Okay.
And then on Monday,
okay. All right.
On Monday, we got the announcement that there was a 90-day reset with China.
Correct.
And that was, I don't know that was completely unanticipated, but it was a bit of a shock to see the tariff on Chinese goods drop from 145% to 30%.
Yes.
Still higher than the historical level, but quite a relief to people that were trying to absorb that one. And frankly, this is one of the problems. I think we're at a point right now where we can take some of these changes with a grain of salt, but you better be a little careful because, for example, the 145% tariff was also matched by the end of this $800 exemption or whatever the number was on Chinese goods that were coming directly into the country. Well, 145% on a $30 item makes it unreachable.
Right, exactly.
So immediately, these high-volume traders from China immediately tried to find warehouses here or in Canada so that they could satisfy these orders from someplace other than China, just to stay in business for a while. But that causes tremendous upheaval all across the supply chain. So, you're 40 days into this major increase, and then bang, it drops through the floor again. I guess at this stage of the game, Gary, I'm going to just sit back and enjoy it.
I
don't know what else to say.
Do you have a sense right now, Joel, that President Trump is looking at the what he hath wrought with the tariffs, and he's looking around and he's saying, "Wait a second, this isn't quite all going the way that I thought it would go. I better, step back, take a look at the scenery here, and if not punt, at least." Redo the game plan here if you're looking at it from a football coach standpoint, because the plays that we're running right now don't seem to be yielding up the kind of acceptance that I thought would happen and the kind of results right away that I thought would happen. Do you have a sense of that right now?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a mid-course correction. I don't think he would ever publicly admit that because it just doesn't fit his persona.
Okay.
But I think he's getting a lot of input even from some of the hardline tariff guys that enough's enough, and sometimes too much is too much.
Right.
But we really want to decouple from China. You can say, well, over the long haul, maybe the next 10, 15, 20 years, it's going to really be in our best interest. And if we take, again, a very careful look at what's really truly national security, not just national interest, there's a big difference between the two. It really makes a lot of sense to be self-sufficient in those areas that truly involve national security. Self-sufficiency can also mean reasonable relationships with long-term allies, people who have the same, let's say, cultural or moral outlook that we do,
right?
The same basic governmental approach that we do. And that's not to say the other guys are wrong. I think the lesson that we're getting from the Middle East, Gary, is that there's more than one way to run the ship.
Right.
And, if you're look at Qatar, for example. There's a country with 300,000 people, a mean income or something to that level of close to $100,000 or more, like third or fourth highest in the world. 300,000 people is fewer than the county of York. Can you imagine Donald Trump sitting down with Julie Wheeler to negotiate a deal?
There you go.
That's essentially what we're looking at. It's mind-boggling. But I guess if we had complete total rights to the Marcellus Shale right here in York, somebody might really sit down with our county executive and hammer out a deal. I don't know.
No, that's exactly right. When you look at the kind of wealth that Qatar has right now, and especially in this whole airplane business that they're talking about, I mean, it's pretty incredible. So the president seems to be in his glory right now, where he's dealing. That's what he likes to do, and he's getting feted over there. I mean, he's getting wined and dined and all that, and we also loves that. On the other hand, you're letting Scott Bessent become more or less the voice now of dealing with China on a little bit quieter stage in Switzerland. Both sides a little bit less verbose and bombastic coming out of that, and you start to sense, okay, we're moving into another realm now, a stage of how we're going to deal with countries. Is that what you're seeing, Joel, or not?
Well, I am, and I think that to contrast the Far East and the Middle East, these are countries that do not share our cultural foundation.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
They think differently, they act differently, and in many senses, they're very successful, at least to the person looking at it on the surface. If you've seen any of the news coverage from Qatar, you see the skyline. It is absolutely mind-boggling what a little bit of money can do.
Absolutely.
And you see the same thing in Dubai and some of these other places in the Middle East. You don't typically see that kind of opulence in China, although it is there. In some of the southeastern parts of the country, there's that same sort of thing where there's just amazing amounts of money that are being poured into infrastructure. Along with that comes the way they rule, Gary.
Right.
Well, you don't think that Xi Jinping is a de facto emperor. You haven't been following the news.
Exactly.
The guy is not a president. He runs the thing with an iron fist.
Yep.
These emirs and royalty in the Middle East run with an iron fist. If you don't cross them, life's good.
Right. Now, I was just going to move into that area because we are seeing, back when you looked at the day and age of Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan, the evil empire. Ronald Reagan dealt with Gorbachev and all these other people in a much different way. Now we're seeing we're saying, okay, we got to deal with all these people in the world. We've got to deal with China. We've got to deal with Russia. We've got to deal with Ukraine. We've got to deal with all these various countries in Saudi Arabia, which is like a 50-50 there, or Qatar, or some of these groups. And we say we don't have the same values, and yet at the same time, the reality is these people are out there. We've got to somehow make deals with them. And are we watching a change of paradigm right now in that? Are we seeing a real change where people are saying, okay, we don't like them, but we got to deal with them, right?
It's interesting you say that, Gary, because that's really the philosophy that we practiced for years and years with our allies, especially the ones that were beneficiaries of the Marshall Plan. It was a linkage through commerce.
Right.
It was a linkage through an economic foundation that gave us an opportunity to engage with each other. I'll use an example that's personal. 30, 40 years ago, I had an exchange student from Germany who spent a year with us.
Okay.
My perspective on Germans and his perspective on Americans were altered by that.
Okay.
Because we had that contact. It's pretty hard to harbor ill feelings about people after you've lived with them for a year.
Right.
I mean, unless they're really despicable characters. But I think what you find out is that however you're coupled, if you're going to couple for long enough, you can learn about yourself and you can learn about the folks with whom you're coupling, whether it's an economic or family situation, you name it. That's how relationships are built. I think what's happened in the Far East, especially with China, is that we really never did embrace a relationship. It was all based on commerce.
Well,
where can you get the cheapest labor? Where can you get the best deal?
Right.
And so in that regard, you let down your guard and you say, well, we'll just outsource our semiconductor industry. We'll outsource heavy manufacturing. And in the course of 30 or 40 years, it's been, since 72 when Nixon normalized relations with China, that this has been developing. So what do you expect? If you don't really understand the thought process, if you don't really pay close attention to what happens, look at the blips along the way. 72, we have this detente, or whatever it might be called, and then in 88, 89 time frame comes Tiananmen Square.
Right, exactly.
Didn't we learn anything from that?
Yep. And then in 91, we tear down the wall. So, all that. And what's interesting this week is you have Trump coming out, President Trump, while he's on his trip over there in the Middle East, saying, hey, let's give Syria a chance now. They got a brand new regime. They've been on the outs for a long time. They overthrew that guy. Now we got a brand new regime in there. Maybe it's time to give them a chance to let them get on the world stage, and they're going to be a great country. So we're seeing all this change right now and upheaval, and the way we look at how we do business to be continued, my friend. It's an interesting topic and one that I think that deserves a little bit more attention as we go down the road. Thanks so much for the time on this morning, Joel. Really appreciate it. Great stuff.
Well, you're welcome, Gary. Have a great weekend.
Have a great rest of the week. Take care. Joel Sears with us here this morning on the Gary Sutton Show, and we're going to take a break. We'll come back with Andrea Ryan next as we take a look at what there is to do around York County, and there's a lot. And she's got a list for you that no one else will be able to match. All next here on the Gary Sutton Show, the main street of York County, right after this. I'll tell you, it is amazing to watch Mark do all this. He raps, he's running the board, he's keeping the show alive. He's like a one-trick, just multitasking pony.
Yeah, we didn't have as much extra stuff today.
Little Paula Abdul today coming back.
Yes,
here. We love
this
that.
was the one with the cartoon.
You know, she used to be an L.A. Lakers cheerleader. Do you know that?
Yes.
Yes, she was an L.A. Lakers cheerleader, but she could dance.
No doubt. American Idol judge.
American Idol judge, and a very, beautiful lady,
Yes.
frankly, and all that.
But opposites attract. It's so true.
There it is. Ready for this? Here we go.
We come together, opposites attracting. It ain't fiction, just a natural fact. We come together.
See,
that's Mark and me. We go together because.
Well, I was going to say Andrea and you are not exactly opposites.
Well, no, Andrea. We go together. Andrea has great information about York County, and I can feel Andrea dancing right now. Frankly, from Explore York this morning. Andrea with us here. Andrea Ryan. Good morning, Andrea. How are you?
Good morning, Gary. How are you today?
Good. Were you dancing to that music as you were coming in here this morning?
Yes, I was.
I could tell. I mean, I felt it. It was like the heartstring kind of thing. Yeah. Anyway, great to have you in this morning. Haven't talked to you in a couple of weeks. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Things are great. Happy rainy Thursday.
Yeah, I know. I've been getting a tea time every day. It's been getting canceled every day, and I'm getting a little upset about it. And maybe you can help me with that. I don't know, but anyway, we're taking a look at things to do in York County, and nobody does it better than you do when it comes to telling us what's going on. So take us in. Take us in. What's going on around York County this weekend and going forward?
Well, I think today's a good day to hit Market Day at Central Market.
Absolutely.
Get out there, get some lunch, do some shopping.
We were talking about Augie's joint. I mean, you get down there, you could get down to Hefty Lefties, but you get down to Augie's joint right now. They've got some great sandwiches down there today. I know you hit the Central Market every now and then. And
oh, yeah.
They have a Mediterranean hot dog down there today. I didn't know if you were aware of that. A Mediterranean hot dog, an all-beef hot dog topped with pesto, roasted red peppers, sun-dried tomato basil, goat cheese, and pine nuts. All in one hot dog. How's that? A Mediterranean hot dog?
Wow. That's amazing. You know what might even make it better?
Go ahead.
If you hit Sweet Mama Mambo's and put some sauce on it.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
They're one of my absolutely favorite market vendors, too.
Oh, they're unbelievable. Yeah, and I get the Mambo sauce, by the way. I have it at home. I have bottles of that stuff at home, and I use it on everything. I could eat cardboard with Mambo sauce on it, and I would be, I'm telling you, I would be doing it. It's really great, but just one of the many vendors down there. What else is going on down there? Anything else at the market today? I love going to the market. It's so innocent. There's great food places down there at the Central Market. I love it. Is there another place you make if you're in there, you make a stop and say, I got to stop here?
I do. I love seeing inspired images. I like all their photography. In fact, one of their photos is featured on our travel guide cover.
Oh, I'll tell you what, Bob does a great job. Bob Brown that does a lot of that. And I love going through there. I'm always looking through the paintings. And I'm trying to find a good. I have a couple of them at home. In fact, I've bought over the years, and I have a few T-shirts and all that good stuff. So there you have it.
Yeah,
yeah.
So, and then hopefully sometime you stop by our visitor center down there. Lots of good information down there.
I do
Say
stop
hi
by.
to Linda.
I walk out with my little all the papers under my arm. I'm grabbing stuff. I'm reading stuff all the time. The magazines, everything else. I do that. I religiously, and I say because Andrea Ryan sent me, and I tell them that, and you don't believe that. No, I do think about that. I do think, well, Andrea would want me to pick this stuff up, and so I do it because she's
I appreciate that. And Linda down there, she's a wealth of knowledge. You got to go see Linda. She's great.
All right, I will be stopping by, and Linda and I will have a chat. But so, what else do you have going on right now?
So tomorrow should be a nicer day. Fingers crossed. It'll be a great day to hit up Food Truck Friday at Springersbury Township.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. I like food trucks. There's so many choices, all right there in front of you. And I just like going around and reading all the menus. I can't buy everything because I don't have anywhere to put it. But, there you go. And what time's that happen tomorrow at Springersbury?
I believe it's 10 to 2.
10 to 2. That's a pretty good time. Yeah, everybody's getting out, taking a walk, whatever. And, that'll
Grabbing
be fun.
some lunch.
All right. Yeah, so that's a good thing. We like that.
And then, Friday night's a great time to go out and get some local beer and listen to some music. Gift Horse Brewing has the AD Chamber Band, and I like to listen and discover some new music. They're a York-based band. They have some fun original hits, like Some Days Are Better Than None.
Yep. Are you a person that likes to hang out and just kind of nurse a drink all night and listen to music? Are you that kind of person?
Well, I like to try more than one beer. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. All right. I like that. Yeah, it's good. A little cryptic there, but I like that. So a nice place to hang out there. What else is going on?
And then also in the south end of the county, Log Cabin Fever. They're playing at the tap room at Vortex Brewing, and they have some really, really good guitar work. I think there's two guys there, and they play some cover band songs, and they just have a variety of guitars. It's always a good time listening to Log Cabin Fever.
Log Cabin Fever.
Vortex.
Okay, at Vortex. Okay, good place to be. I love that.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of us probably have maybe not Log Cabin Fever, but, wanting to get outside and do some stuff and take a break from this gloomy weather.
Oh, I've got cabin fever right now. I don't like being shut in. I got to be outside playing. I got to be doing stuff. I got to be listening, playing golf, going to a food place, whatever it might be, hanging out. That's being at a Revs game. So that's where I live.
Yeah, Revs games are always fun.
They are, especially when you get to do them on radio like I do. So, but I'm just going to be hanging out here tomorrow night and Saturday. I'm going to be meeting people inside the gate here, just saying hello and handing out little cards and information and saying hello and getting to know people. So that I'm doing that as well. But someone said something about an ice bucket challenge too, and I don't know about that. I just I might be getting hit with that later on, but I'm finding out about that today a little bit more. So, not sure. So what else? What else you got going on?
So there's the South Central PA People Fest that's presented by the Hanover Area Diversity Alliance. That's up at Codorus, the beautiful Codorus State Park. That's from 10 to 5.
You said it's a People Fest?
It's the South Central PA People Fest. And that's music, dancing, food. I know you like food. There's a native powwow.
Okay.
Highland games. I think they carry around pieces of trees or something.
All right. Okay.
Sounds like fun.
Well, you can't have a fest unless you have people, so I guess that does work. But yeah.
Yeah. So, it's presented by the Diversity Alliance. So imagine there's going to be all kinds of fun people up there, and arts and crafts and cultural displays and island games. It just sounds like a lot of fun.
I like to see a lot of different kinds of foods and garb and, dances and all that kind of stuff. I'm a nut about that. So I might go hang out at that a little bit tomorrow. But, that sounds good.
Yeah, and it's just a nice time to go up to Codorus State Park. I was up there the other day to check out the new solar array panels they've installed up there. And it's just such a, with everything blooming and what a nice park we have. We're so lucky.
Well, it's so spread out. It really is a nice spread out park. And there's a little something for everybody there, too, I think, Andrea. So that's it. Andrea Ryan with us this morning from Explore York, by the way, giving us a little taste of what's going on around the region. Final couple minutes here. What do you have? What else is going on? Because I don't want to miss anything.
Yeah, no, there's lots of good stuff. You can do Ales on the Rails Mystery Craft Beer Tour down at NCR. That's your ticket gets you a 2.5-hour train ride, and you can sample some craft beers with the expert beer guys at Brewery Tour.
Ooh, okay.
And then if wine's more your thing, you could go down to the south end of the county at Bila Koloa Vineyards for their third annual Lowland Games. That's from 1 to 7. So you bring your family and pitch up a little tent there for some friendly competition. They have music and, of course, some really great wine.
Okay.
Made right here in York County.
Yep.
And then, Sunday we're coming into Memorial Day. We're getting closer to Memorial Day weekend. And you can take a historic tour of the Prospect Cemetery right there on George Street.
That is unbelievable.
It sounds a little...
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you hop on a tram, you ride around. It's absolutely beautiful. And you learn about the prominent people who are buried there and helped really shape the area of York County.
Like Philip Livingston, one of the guys who was a signer of the Declaration of Independence and got caught here from New York and didn't ever go back home and is buried there. One of two signers within a mile of each other, James Smith being the other one. How's that? Down at First Presbyterian. Yeah.
Man, you are a wealth of knowledge.
I know everything there is to know from A to B. I'm really sharp. I'm really sharp, Andy. Final thought this morning on things to do. An exclamation point on an already beautiful sentence.
Oh my gosh! Well, we have 3-time Grammy Award winner Avi Kaplan, who was with Pentatonics, making his debut at the Appel Center, and he'll be there with singer-songwriter and multi-instrumentalist Guthrie Brown.
I'll tell you what, you just come at it with so much stuff all at one time. It's like going to a buffet. A buffet of what's going on here in York County. Andrea Ryan with us this morning. And people can check out yorkpa.org/things to do. Explore York. Andrea's part of that. And there's so much to do here in York County. Andrea, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to talking to you again in 2 weeks, okay?
Sounds great.
Same time, same place, all right?
All right.
All right. Mark it on your calendar. Thanks so much, Andrea. Always appreciate it. Always good talking to you on a Thursday morning. Take care.
Good talking to you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Andrea Ryan here from Explore York. Check it out again at yorkpa.org/things to do / all there. We'll take a break. We'll come back with more here on the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK. Phil from American Commitment joins us next. I could tell you this song before, Black Velvet, before you even get into it. Am I right?
Is that your favorite drink?
No, it's one of those songs that's iconic in terms of how it leads, and I think. Am I right on that or not?
And yet, where is Alana Miles now? Is it? She had like a one-hit wonder.
I was thinking Tanya Tucker had sung this, and I was so off.
No.
And who was the singer of this?
Alana Miles.
Alana Miles. She had a lot of miles under her, apparently.
And now she's gone. Where is she?
Another on the witness protection island of one-hit wonders. Thank you. We said it together. Yes, welcome back. Gary Sutton Show. Black Velvet, smooth and wonderful, I guess. I don't drink Black Velvet, but anyway, this week, this hour, by the way, is brought to you by Augie's Joint, right there at the Central Market, open today. Yeah, 10 to 2, 5 days a week now. It's incredible. Tuesday to Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Augie's Joint, located on the Beaver Street side right there. You walk in the Beaver Street entrance to the Central Market right here in the middle of York, and you will find Augie's Joint. And I want to tell you what, an array of sandwiches and food that you can't even imagine. And Brent and Jewel are just cooking it up every single day. For example, this week's burger, Mark McKenzie, is the old number 7. The old number 7, which is caramelized Jack Daniel's onions, bacon, mayo, barbecue sauce, and pepper Jack Daniel's cheese on a toasted brioche bun. Not just a bun, a brioche bun. Notice I said that as a French way. And then you also have a hot dog special today.
It's so continental.
They do. The Mediterranean. We are so continental. The Mediterranean is an all-beef hot dog.
Yes.
Topped with pesto, roasted red peppers, sun-dried tomato basil, goat cheese, and pine nut.
It's
no
interesting.
ketchup. No ketchup on that.
It's interesting that the pesto should have pine nuts in it. Maybe it doesn't.
It should.
And that's why they added the pine nuts.
They added the
because
pine nuts.
It was supposed to, but didn't.
And don't be afraid to ask for the chili dog like I do sometimes. They've got all the other sandwiches. They've got them all listed right there. And they have a trivia game thing they can play up there above.
Oh.
Stop by the Central Family Restaurant today. 5 days a week, by the way, Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 2. Say hello to Jewel and Brent. Tell them Gary Sutton proudly sent you to Augie's Joint. They have got a wonderful food. Now, you've got bison burgers, by the way, from right next door there, from the Bison Farm. Yeah, they've even got that as well. So a little bit of everything right there at the Central Family Restaurant at Augie's Joint on the Beaver Street side. Walk in the door there. You'll see it right there when you step in. Say hello to Brent and Jewel and tell them Gary Sutton sent you. Anyway, it is 8:38 here on the Gary Sutton Show. And time now to check in with a guy we have not talked to in a while, Phil Kerpen, who is the president of American Commitment. And Phil is with us here this morning. Hey, Phil, good to have you back. How you doing?
I'm doing great, but, you tempted me with those sandwiches.
I know.
I can't drive all the way up there, so, all right.
Now, where do you live, Phil? Are you in New York?
I'm in D.C.
In D.C., okay. See, it's only an hour and a half drive. I mean, you could be up here, be back down there. You'd have your sandwiches taken care of. You'd be all ready to go.
I think it's probably more like 2 with regular traffic. But,
well,
too much.
I was doing the Chamber of Commerce, mileage there. You know how that goes. Anyway, you're taking a look right now, like a lot of people. We're hearing a lot about this big, beautiful bill and the REINS Act, R-E-I-N-S Act. Tell me a little bit about what's going on here with the big, beautiful bill. Is it going to get passed or not? What about the REINS Act? Incorporate all that into me and make some sense out of it, okay?
Well, we've still got some big question marks on whether they're going to be able to get this past the finish line. The Speaker has the members of the SALT caucus, those Republicans from ultra-high-tax states like New York and New Jersey and California who want as much of their state and local tax to be federally deductible as possible, even though, that makes the rest of us subsidize their high-tax states. And he's balancing that against the conservatives who say, where are all the spending cuts we were promised that aren't in here? And he's trying to figure out a way to navigate this through the House where he can only afford to lose 2 or 3, I think maybe 3 with perfect attendance, Republicans, because every single Democrat is fine with a $4 trillion tax hike, and they're not going to cooperate in any way. And so, there are a lot of pieces of the puzzle here. I think that ultimately they'll get it done because the alternative is too terrible to contemplate, but, it's not done until it is. And so there's still a lot of moving pieces right now. And, the REINS Act, which we've talked about in your show before, this is a bill I've been trying to get done for the last 15 years or so, and this would fix kind of the structural problem in the way federal regulations get done because, excuse me, the way it works now is agencies more or less impose any regulations they want unless you can somehow get a judge to stop them or you can try to get Congress to stop them, but getting Congress to stop them doesn't really work unless you just had a presidential election because even if you can get something through, to overturn a regulation, the president vetoes it to save his own regulation. And so it doesn't really work. This would change it so that for any major regulation, they would have to get prior approval from Congress, majority vote in the House and Senate before it could take effect. And if we could ever do that, make that change, we would really be able to stop the most destructive, most expensive regulations, even when the Democrats have House, Senate, and White House, like, they did under Pelosi and Reid and Obama. Remember, they could never get that cap and trade bill done because there was too much public opposition. They couldn't do it. But, Obama could have the EPA more or less implement all the stuff that was in that bill, and that didn't have to go up to Congress for votes. And so I think if we could require prior approval in Congress for major regulations, we'd be able to stop the worst, most destructive ones. And, the ones that we don't stop where Congress actually approves, you'd be able to, at least look up the vote and hold them accountable come election time instead of everything swinging back and forth on the presidential, which I think has been very destructive for our country. And so this is a big deal. Been trying to get it done for a long time. And it is in the current House version of the big, beautiful bill. The House Judiciary Committee, Jim Jordan, included it. There is some question of whether Senate rules will allow it to stay in when it goes over to the Senate. I find Senate rules extraordinarily confusing, so I don't know who's right about that. Senator Mike Lee insists that they can keep it in. I've been told by a number of other, procedural experts that they will not be allowed to keep it in. So that's the big question mark on that piece of this. But if we could somehow get that done, that would be such a big deal because all of the deregulation that Trump is doing would be essentially permanent unless they could actually get majorities in Congress for the specific rules and regulations they want instead of everything snapping back next time they have a Democrat in.
We're talking with Phil Kerpen this morning, president of American Commitment. I saw where you were quoted, Phil, in saying federal regulation now rivals taxation as a burden on the U.S. economy with a total burden north of $3 trillion per year. I don't even know what that looks like. But talk about that a little bit because you're talking about the laws, the decades-old laws have been stretched to within breaking points to impose vast costs, and that's one of the things you're trying to kind of stop here, right?
Yeah, it's harder to see. You see your tax bill. You don't really see your regulatory bill, but there are a lot of different studies out there. They all have it in the trillions of dollars, incomprehensibly large. The study that I found the most shocking was one that Casey Mulligan from the University of Chicago did, and he said that just the new regulations under Biden, just the 4 years of new regulations under Biden, imposed new costs, regulatory compliance costs of about $47,000 per household.
Really?
$47. Now, that's in net present value terms, so that's not like you get hit with it all at once. Right. That's like what you would have to put away right now to cover the cost of new regulations over your lifetime, essentially, is the way to think about net present value. But that's a shocking amount of money just for new regulations in 4 years. Now, a lot of that was the internal combustion vehicle ban, the electric vehicle mandates, which was the most expensive regulation in U.S. history. And, of course, Trump has already repealed that. So, a lot of these costs can be reversed when you have a Republican in, but you can't have a country where massive regulations toggle on and off depending on what party's in the White House. You have to have some stability for capital formation and investment and just for households, too, to be able to make, financial planning decisions. And so the dollar amounts are really, really big when you talk about regulation. And if this could somehow stick in the bill, and of course, I hope it will, but if this could somehow stick in the bill, there's also a huge federal deficit impact. The Heritage Foundation did a study where they found that a federal regulatory freeze would reduce the deficit by about $1 trillion over a decade because with a lot less regulation, you have a lot more economic growth, you have a bigger economy that's throwing off more revenues, and you have less demand for government social programs because you have more people in jobs and standing on their own 2 feet. And so this very legitimately, in my opinion, is a budgetary issue that should be allowed to stay in this bill. It has a huge effect on the budget. And so, that'll be the argument to the Senate parliamentarian on being allowed to keep it in.
Again, talking to Phil Kerpen of American Commitment, he's the president. The REINS Act. So if we're summing this up at the end here, essentially what you're asking is, let's quit playing executive order ping pong and doing all these things by executive order and by regulatory agencies, and let's start to codify it into law by having the Congress involved ahead of time and get things done that way where it's going to be more permanent and it's not going to be something I'm putting it in, I'm taking it out, I'm putting it in, I'm taking it out. Am I right on that or wrong?
You're absolutely right on that. And we've passed this bill in the House 4 or 5 times. We've never been able to get it done in the Senate. It's never going to pass as a standalone bill because too many senators love the idea of punting all this power to the bureaucracy. And so if we're ever going to get this done, it's going to be tucked in one of these hundreds of page bills. I mean, I hate that's how you have to get your best ideas done, but I think that's the reality. So I'm hoping they keep it in.
Well, it's time for Congress to start stepping up and be viable again, I think, because too much is being done through executive orders, through regulatory actions, through judicial acts. And I think it's time for Congress to take their rightful place among the 3 branches of government again, being the most important branch of government as it's listed number 1 in the Constitution. You can read Phil's piece here on www.American Commitment or G/big-beautiful bill should rein in regulation. So check out AmericanCommitment.com and check what Phil Kerpen is talking about. Phil, looking forward to having you on a regular basis again, my friend. Good to have you back in here, and continue good luck with all the good work you're doing, okay?
All right, Gary, have a good one.
Take care, my friend. And don't forget to get up here and get those sandwiches, all right? It's a 2-hour trip. One day, okay? Just call me. Call me and we'll have lunch together, okay?
Someday I'll try to do it.
Talk to you, buddy. Take care. Phil Kerpen, head of American Commitment here on the Gary Sutton Show, has not yet had a Mediterranean dog, Mark, and is certainly due that. We didn't ask what he does catch about hot dogs. We'll take a break. We'll come back with some final thoughts, some final articles, all here on the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK.
VIP. Let's kick it. Ice, ice, baby. Ice, ice, baby. All right, stop. Collaborate and listen. Ice is back with my brand new invention.
So what do you think?
Grabs a hold of me tightly.
It's all right.
Daily and nightly.
It's all right. That's all I'd say. Yeah.
Vanilla Ice.
Yeah. Yeah. Welcome back, the Gary Sutton Show.
Oh, it's not a favorite.
No, but I don't hate it.
Oh,
I don't hate it. So I'm being a little bit more middle of the road there.
You
a little
are.
bit more analytical.
Yes.
A little bit more modern and hip. My wife is trying to get me to be more
Oh.
hip. She lost that a long time ago, believe me. But anyway, and one of the things that maybe is really being hip right now is being bald. I saw where bald men are resurrecting the toupee. And here's what women think about the throwback style. I was reading this in Fashion and Beauty. I believe it was in the New York Post. They said they don't want toupee for their for hair transplants. Balding millennial men are nixing pricey trips to Turkey, preferring to rock retro rugs instead. This sounds like a tabloid, doesn't it? Reverting back to the wiggy ways of their forefathers, 30-something with receding hairlines are resurrecting the once demode toupee in a comeback of John Travolta-like proportions. Millennial men with hair loss are reviving the toupee as a cost-conscious, realistic alternative to costly hair transplants and treatments.
Well, they're better now.
Are they?
Well, if you see some of the...
I guess some are.
If you've seen some of the transformations they've been able to make, it's like you would really never know. And it's just a lot more precise, I think, than they used to be.
I suppose.
Not that I need one.
Well, and I do. I mean, I've kind of lost the middle of my head there. But they say by age 35, 2/3 of American men will experience some degree of noticeable hair loss. And by the age of 50, approximately 85% of men will have significantly thinning hair.
Really?
Per the American Hair Loss Association. There's actually an American Hair Loss Association. Let's see, AHL. Make America Hairy Again. I don't know. MAHA, I don't know. Around 25% of men with male pattern baldness begin losing their hair before the age of 21. Yeah. And to combat, this goes even further, the hairlessness headache. Gent across all age demographics have explored a slew of swanky new regrowth innovations, everything from $5,000 transplants in Istanbul to $16,000 robotic restoration treatments in New York City. Yeah, but more budget conscious, hairless people, blokes, end up covering their shedding tops now to undergo invasive surgeries and procedures by putting a rug up there.
That seems, it seems... The toupee would be a lot easier.
Yeah, I know a lot of women like the bald look now. I mean, a lot of guys have gone just to the bald. I mean, you look at Denzel Washington.
I think they used to. I don't know that that's still the case.
The Rock. Look at The Rock.
You have more options, alternatives.
Maybe. And so the problem is, and here's my way of looking at it. If I look at your hair and it's a toupee, and I think there's a dead animal resting and taking a nap on your head.
But how do you know? What if you can't tell?
What if you can?
See, I do that.
I look at the other side. What if you can?
Yes, because I think there's some people that
it's nasty.
Fool themselves, right?
Yeah, there's some nasty stuff.
I do that when I watch TV.
It's nice that you take your pet with you.
Unlike the Real Housewives or something,
exactly
I'll say.
Right.
Yeah, it's like. Is that a wig or not?
Yeah.
Is it a wig or not? And sometimes it's really easy to tell, but other times it's very hard.
The worst part is if you don't have to ask, and you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the ones that if you're going to put the time and effort into it,
right,
you're going to want to make sure.
You always look at the nice side. I like that about you. You're trying to give the benefit of the doubt here.
You don't want to. Would you want to have Donald Trump's hair?
No.
Right.
I wouldn't.
Right. Who is he fooling?
He's not.
Right.
But he's Donald Trump. I mean, he's one of a lifetime entity.
Yes. But I mean, you don't want that. And
I've seen his hair in person like 2 inches away from it.
And now you don't need to do that.
I needed sunglasses.
Now you can.
Yeah.
You can get, it's amazing what they've done. I've seen some of the way that they layer and all this.
I've seen into Jordan. I went not get there with you, but no, I did. Yeah, but I've seen in the toupees of the present day. And
I wouldn't want one.
I'm not that.
Need one,
I'm
so
not that ego driven.
Yes.
I just don't need it.
Yes.
I have what I have.
That's right. It's who you are. It's part of who you are.
My dad had a full head of hair when he passed away, and I admired that. I never was blessed with that.
Let's talk a little bit more about.
You're tired of the toupees?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's talk a little bit more. I'm just trying to segue while we can.
Just trying to cover it up.
Health news.
The U.S. suspending beef imports from Mexico earlier this week, a 15-day ban due to screwworm being detected in some shipments recently. The U.S. previously restricted Mexican cattle shipments from November to February for similar screwworm concerns. The Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service under the U.S. Agriculture Department describes the New World screwworm as a devastating pest, with fly larvae burrowing into the animal and causing damage, in this case to livestock. It's rare in the U.S., but they can infest humans too, with the flies attracted to and laying eggs in open wounds. House Call for Health, Elisa Brady, Fox News.
How's that for
the screwworm?
Can you imagine that? Can you burrowing into your body?
No.
Here's a woman who helped someone plan a shooting.
Okay.
The interesting part of this story is that the person who helped the other person was a mom helping her son.
A San Antonio mom and golf bar employee was arrested for allegedly buying ammunition, magazines, and tactical gear for her son's desire to carry out acts of mass violence at Rhodes Middle School. Court records show police arrested 33-year-old Ashley Pardo Monday on a charge of aiding in the commission of terrorism. Local media report that before Pardo picked up her son for school, she told his grandmother he was going to be famous. Police detained the boy when he showed up to school Monday wearing a mask, camouflage jacket, and tactical pants. Carmen Roberts, Fox News.
What's wrong there?
Yeah, not good.
So here's a weird story about, you've seen cars being towed, right?
Yes.
But not like this.
The blue car is seen chained improperly to the back of a white SUV swerving in and out of lanes. And according to Houston police, no injuries were reported when they arrived. However, HPD says they ran the plate of the driver of the blue vehicle and he has a warrant out for his arrest in Georgia. HPD says his name is Dante Brown and he is 32 years old.
Yeah, the SUV was pulling this car back and forth. It was kind of funny in a way if the danger wasn't there. And lastly, it's an entertainment story, and yet apparently another Game of Thrones spinoff.
Game of Thrones fans will have to wait a bit longer to head back to Westeros as HBO Max pushed its new spin-off series, The Night of the Seven Kingdoms, to 2026. During the presentation of the trailer at the Warner Brothers Discovery Upfronts, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms is adapted from George R.R. Martin's novella, The Hedge Knight, which will follow the exploits of the knight Sir Duncan the Tall and his young squire Egg, roughly 100 years before the events of Game of Thrones and 100 years after the events of House of Dragon. Michelle Polino, Fox News.
Look forward to that.
Don't forget to stop down at Augie's Joint today, 10 to 2. They're open 5 days a week now, from Tuesday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Central Market. And some of the great sandwiches of all time. Ask for the Mediterranean today. You can also ask for the old number 7 in the burgers. We got a great show coming up here tomorrow, including Jim McClure, York County historian, and all the news that's fit to hear, all here on the Gary Sutton Show. It's 9 o'clock.